For as sunny as Sebring, Florida is, it's often lived in the shadow of Daytona. Daytona carries that sports car racing prestige, and it's the world's center of racing. But for Sebring, its past was forged in a similar way. While Daytona has seen its pavement change in the last 5 decades, Sebring still retains much of its original surface. The blinding white concrete has aged, once used as a military base during World War II, and is now used by ground-pounding sports cars. Yes, it may live in the shadow of its more prestigious brother, but this is Sebring. It's tough, it'll shake your screws loose, and conquering this place is truly a monumental achievement. This is the Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series presented by Apex V2R. Kyle Heyer joined by Finian DeCuna this afternoon for our second of 5 rounds of the 2021 season from sunny Sebring. Finian, 3.5 miles, 17 turns. It's a wild, fast, bumpy circuit known for the 12-hour race that happens here in a couple weeks, but today it's just 2 for Apex V2R, the Canadian Sim Racing Endurance Series. Super excited to have you here, Finian. I know you missed round number 1. I had Tom O'Gorman, but he's not available today. We've got Finian here. Finian, Sebring, a fun racetrack, one that we both have a lot of experience running. But this is a great racetrack. I can't wait to get us underway.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, it's always interesting seeing these guys come here and tackle such a tough track. And, you know, it's definitely technical, quite a few ways, but just tackling this track surface, you mentioned it, that the track surface is old, it's bumpy in a lot of places, can really catch these guys off guard, especially over the course of 2 hours.
Here's a look at the track guide for today's event. 3.5 miles and 17 turns. It all starts with a fast run down through turn number 1. Fast left-hander, 4th gear for these GT endurance cars. Then the run to turn 2, a slight kick to the right into turn 3. Good passing opportunity down here. Jump the curb, head through turns 4 and 5. This sets you up for the longest straightaway in the middle part of the sector here, down to turn 7, perhaps your best passing opportunity. Then through the kink in turn 8 and 9, then to turn 10. Through turns 11 and 12 into 13, that's a right-hand kink, leads on to the back straightaway. That will take you all the way through the fast stuff and into turn 15, 16, which is called Le Mans Corner. And then that long run down to Sunset Bend, turn number 17. It's a fast racetrack. It's a lot of fun. It's bumpy. We've said all that we need to say about it. But we're here for Race Sim Canada, the Canadian Endurance Series, round number 2. Qualifying about to get underway here in a few moments, Finian. And we're looking at just about 25 teams of 2 with a mandatory pit stop and driver swap between minutes 50 and 70 in this race. Endurance racing is a little bit different kind of racing, though, Finian. You're acting as a team, not as an individual, and it sort of changes your strategy and perspective of how you go fast.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how these guys get on their way. Didn't quite get to catch the first round, but we don't normally see endurance racing here on Sim TV, at least in the where we have multiple drivers per car. So it's interesting to see how these guys are going to tackle it, especially, you know, are they going to back off, or are they maybe going to charge a little bit harder and let their other teammate pick it up from there. So I'm curious to see how these teams are going to tackle it and try to pace themselves over this event, because that's something you definitely have to keep in mind here at Sebring.
Having a look at the weather information today, have a look at the track temperature, 111 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, the big discussion we always have coming to Sebring is the surfaces. We already mentioned how this racetrack is built on World War II taxiways and runways. Here's a look at the concrete in part of the racetrack. This is turn 1, one of the bumpy areas. This racetrack is so much slicker on the asphalt than it is on the concrete because of the temperature swing. The white concrete does not absorb as much temperature as the blacker asphalt does, and you can see a 15 to 20 degree surface temperature swing between those two surfaces. So in the real world, Tom O'Gorman has told me that it's a lot more significant, but it still is something to consider here before we get into qualifying. Especially if you get a cloud coming over the racetrack, wait a few minutes and then go, you might find yourself another 10th or 2. This is just practice finishing up here and having a look at those who are on top of the order. Grid Engineering with Christopher Roberts behind the wheel of the number 8 right now. And then a couple of the Apex V2R teams in twin-looking Porsches, the 882 and 881. Marc-Andre in the 882 and Zach Venier in the 881. He's just gone for a loop at the exit of turn number 5. Harris Fellows Racing with Mark Harris. They've got Ron Fellows' son behind the wheel of one of these Corvettes today, so good. Looking forward to seeing him there. Austin Cobb in Grid Life RWB. He's got DJ Alessandrini alongside him, and we know that's a pretty potent combination.
Yeah, and so far pretty good. Highest ranking Ferrari, not too many of them. I think the next one is down at 15, but up in there. But mainly 3 Porsches up near the front, and also a majority of them stacked throughout the rest of the top 15.
Yeah, there was a lot of discussion this week about wanting a bunch of teams wanting to switch cars for Sebring, and that was promptly said, no, you can't do that. That was in the rules from the very beginning, that to be eligible for the season-end prize provided by Apex V2R, again, some track time in their lovely prepped track car, you have to run the same car from the start of the season to the end of the season and also make 4 of the 5 events. Now, a lot of drivers have sort of locked their preference in with the Porsche, which is a pretty good all-around race car. But one thing that was discovered about the Corvette was that it's pretty good on fuel and can almost make this race on one stop. So there's a lot of drivers that are wishing they had picked the bow tie over the Porsche badge, but we'll see how it all comes into effect towards the end of this race.
Definitely something to keep an eye on to see if they actually can do that. And just in general, just to say, it can save them quite a bit of time down on pit road. So see, that's going to be the factor. Maybe these guys are going to be regretting that decision early on.
So practice is almost complete here, and again, we already mentioned the bunch of Porsches, but there are a couple BMWs here today as well. Jeff McCaig in the number 14 car for Event Matrix. They're running one of those BMW platforms. So is the LSM team. Steven Barkovich behind the wheel of one of those at the moment. Also Night Blind Racing in the 23. Douglas Doucette in command of that BMW M8. She's a big girl, and she's also pretty fast, as we saw at Road America. They moved up through the field throughout the day. They didn't qualify very well, but they raced very, very well. So we'll see if the BMWs can climb a little higher up the order. But right now it's an all Porsche and Ferrari, or excuse me, all Porsche and Chevrolet top 10. Sans the Grid Life RWB Ferrari in 6th.
Yeah, and all the BMWs ranked 19 through 22nd, all 4 of them. So, as you mentioned, I mean, again, 2 hours gives you quite a bit of time to get something done. So, see if they are able to claw their way up the order as qualifying is coming to an end.
So qualifying done now, or excuse me, I should say practice is coming to an end. We're now rolling into qualifying here, which will get a handful of minutes to do so. 20 minutes of qualifying time. And we'll start setting the grid. So this is where I like to follow individual cars and see how capable they are going to be. One of the cars that we have to keep an eye on is this VRS Satellite Racing red car. Now, some notes about this car is that this VRS Satellite Racing red car with Giuliano Romagnolo behind the wheel, as well as the other car with Alex Ellis behind the wheel, they'll be starting from the rear after a penalty from Road America. So wherever they qualify, it's not going to matter. But they're certainly going to get some practice and some experience out here on this racetrack at the moment. One of the things I love about these Porsches, Finian, is how they sound. That flat 6 motor screaming as they head under the bridge here towards turn number 7. They sound really good, and they're also very, very fast.
Yeah, I'm actually also really glad we got the version of the Porsche. Before, they kind of muted the sound a little bit in real life. They kind of turned back the sound a little bit, and doesn't pierce your ears, make them bleed as much anymore. So, but at least in the sim, we get to hear that beautiful sound. It's not going to have that bad of an effect on your eardrums because muted through the TV audio. But it's really nice, still very nice to hear. It's honestly one of my favorite settings GT cars as he goes off to check just a little bit of an excursion. That's
Romagnolo going off the racetrack in the 19 VRS Satellite Racing red car, pulls back on course. One of the Apex V2R cars, they have a trio of them. Apex V2R 880, 881, and 882, all with different driver lineups. And all 3 of those cars were up inside the top 10 at Road America. All 3 of them had various issues throughout the day as well. So some work for them to do to maybe find some consistency in this field. On the left-hand side of the screen, you're going to have the fastest lap run by each and every driver here. And we'll switch between the team designations as well as the manufacturer logos, so you can find your favorites and follow along. If you're brand new here to SimTV, make sure you drop a subscription and a like if you'd like to join us for the rest of the season. We've got 3 more rounds after this, and looking ahead, one of those rounds is a to-be-decided racetrack. But next up will be the Nürburgring GP on April 11th, followed by Watkins Glen on May 16th, and June 20th, the final round, TBD on the schedule. So we'll see where we end up for that. Emmett Savage giving the car a bit of a wiggle before we head to the front straightaway, just trying to warm up those tires there, Finian.
Yeah, and get a nice and warm. These tires, and being endurance tires, hard to heat up. They're very resistant to big changes, and can last quite a bit. So, to get them rubbered in, get them ready to go, can take a few laps. I think he's trying to speed up that process here, and now he's going to start on the flyer.
Series also brought to you by Shannonville Motorsport Park. Glad to have their support of this as well. Emmett Savage through turn number 1. Over 100 miles an hour through 4th gear through that turn. Porsches generally are okay with bumps, so they're going to handle pretty well here. All these cars generally take bumps okay. I think the Corvette has been the most stable of these 3, the 4 or 5 major platforms we have, notably no Fords. We were just discussing that prior to the start of the broadcast video. No one is elected for that Ford GT platform. It just takes a little bit too much to make that car competitive right now.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I guess you want to stick to realism. The fact that car doesn't compete anymore.
That hurts my heart just a little bit. Although that car would never really fit in the GT endurance category. It was really a prototype. But glad to have at least 4 of the 5 manufacturers represented here. So Emmett Savage works his way down through turn number 12 and into turn 13. This is a pretty important corner here. To jump this curve on the inside apex will slow you down, so he stays far from it. Accelerates towards the backside of the racetrack, these fast-flowing S's, where you can really make up a lot of time if you've got a car trimmed out for him.
Yeah, you also lose a lot of time, especially during the race. Coming on through here, you see the car yawing out just a little bit here, watching that curve on the left. Don't want to straddle it too much, can upset the balance. And coming onto the backstretch, you're going to see a lot of guys trying to use the slipstream to their advantage into Sunset.
Austin Cobb comes across the line for Grid Life RWB. He goes to the top of the board. Grid Engineering, Christopher Roberts at a Porsche goes second quick by 5 thousandths of a second. Adam Crane third for VRS Satellite Racing Blue. That's another one of those Corvettes. And Adam Crane has a bit of a long night coming up because just like we do, he's got the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series coming up from Detroit Belle Isle right after this race, so a long afternoon. So he goes third quick. The Apex V2R 882 goes fourth quick, sorry.
No, I was going to say, I thought that name sounded familiar.
It certainly is familiar. And they were in position to win at Road America. They were really, really fast, playing some different strategies. It didn't quite work out. They had some incidents, some hardware issues that relegated them down the order just a little bit. But I think he'll be a threat, and this team in general will be a threat later in this race. Other cars coming across the line, all the Apex, well, I should say 2 of the 3 Apex V2R cars inside the top 5, the 882 and 880. Emmett Savage goes 5th quick on his first lap. The other Apex V2R car, this is the 881 with Nathan Block behind the wheel, has yet to set a lap time. But they were all quick at Road America, and when you look at these 2 racetracks side by side, there's not a ton that they share in common. But if you look at them from a less technical perspective, Finian, they're both over 3.5 miles long. They both have over 15 corners, or over 14 corners, I should say. They're similar in terms of average speed, I would argue. And I think there's a lot of similarities you can draw just from those basic concepts. It's not like we're going to Lime Rock Park and then off to Daytona. Road America and Sebring share a lot, and I think we'll see a lot of the same faces up front.
Yeah, I'm sure people would probably say they share a lot more if Sebring actually repaid a service, but then if it did, it would lose all the character, all the unique character this track has built up over the years. So I think that's really the main hallmark difference, is how much harder the surface is for these guys to deal with in comparison to Road America, which is significantly more smoother around the track.
Yeah, one would argue that the rumble strips at Road America might not be, but the racing surface itself certainly is. Here at Sebring, I'm not sure you can tell the difference, to be quite honest, between the rumble strips and the racing surface. Watch this bump through the final corner. Bam, 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 right over the top of Sunset Bend. Still settling on corner exit. Nathan Block will come on through for Apex V2R 881, and will run a 204.922, but a dirty lap it will not count.
That's the other big thing, too. These guys only have 20 minutes, which on might seem like a lot of time. When a lap here takes almost 2 minutes for these cars. It doesn't leave quite a lot of time. It leaves, 10 laps, excluding one for an out lap, for continuous running, trying to get a time down. So, dirty 1 lap, you only have, maybe 9, 8, 7 laps left to make a run, and it's still push to get yourself further the order, because 25 cars, it's a lot of work, and you don't want to put yourself in a worse position than if you can avoid it.
Never Quit Racing with Tony Kloosterman. Kloosterman he's been around for a while, we'll say that. He won a Ontario Championship Rally in 1979. So he's been around for quite some time, and he was not slow at Road America. This team was really, really quick, joined by Chris Jackson from St. Catharines, Ontario. Of course, Chris, 41 years old. And a big thanks to Mary for allowing him to race in this series. So got the wife's approval to run in the Never Quit Racing car. That's always good. You don't want to make any more drama in the household, that's for sure. And just ahead of them in the Genesis SimSport Porsche, that's Farouk Manzar. And looking down the rest of the order here, trying to Makes sense of some of the new teams because there are a handful of them. One of them, I believe, NASCAR, NSS, Ronnie Wimberly in this bright orange and blue Corvette. This is a new team that did not run at Road America, and they are still eligible for the championship should they compete in the remaining events. So we'll see if they can make all the others.
Yeah, and not surprising that NASCAR and driving our Corvette.
Makes sense.
Sports Car Series thought I did with a bunch of stock car drivers that came over. Most of them pretty much picked the Corvette for the GT car.
No changes at the top of the order. Austin Cobb still quickest for Grid Life RWB in the Ferrari. Now, an interesting note about Grid Life RWB is this team is not eligible for the prizing. Neither of its drivers are from Canada and therefore are not eligible for the prizing, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be competitive. They were really in the catbird seat for most of the race at Road America, and it was just because of a technicality and a penalty that they received that they got kind of buried down the order. But Austin Cobb, out of Sacramento, is the first driver. DJ Alessandrini out of Lakewood, Ohio, is running in the other seat in that car. DJ, of course, runs in the Grid Life Touring Cup Series here in America. Austin Cobb will shortly join that series in a Miata. Grid Engineering with Nicholas McMillan trying to run them down from a 10th back. This gap has actually expanded as Cobb has run a little bit quicker.
It was amazing to see that they were tied early at 5,000ths of a second after 2 minutes. It's an incredibly close gap. Even still, 1/10 of a second is mighty close as well. Here, see if they can bring that gap down a little bit as we're just about halfway through qualifying.
We should also note that we're talking about Grid Life Touring Cup with DJ Alessandrini. One of the drivers that just joined that was Brian Heitcotter, the 2011 GT Academy winner. Now, this team with Grid Engineering has 2 drivers from the Final Four in GT Academy. Nick McMillan, who is currently behind the wheel, is the 2013 U.S. GT Academy champion. And Chris Roberts, the other driver in this car, is the 2011 GT Academy Final Four driver. So it is really amazing how small the sim racing world really is when it comes down to it. A lot of the talent you see in more places than one. But right now, Cobb and Alessandrini still outrunning those cars. But the only team that does not yet have a time is the Coda Racing car, the 888 of Chris Cram. They had some issues at Road America, picked up some damage early. They're looking for a bit of a rebound. And again, this team with Chris Cram out of Toronto and Malcolm Straycan also out of Toronto. Those Toronto teammates trying to get some times in. They are the 26th and final team at the moment. 8 minutes left here in qualifying.
Yeah, we're talking about this position not wanting to be in a one where you're scrambling to get a solid lap in. I think they should be able to do so. There's a decent amount of time left. They can keep pushing onwards.
Here is the Screeching Moose Motorsport car of Makina Dean. That's a lovely team name. The imagery and the what's the word for creating sounds in your head? There's a word for it. I can't remember what it is.
Onomatopoeia?
Is that what it is? Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure.
I think that is. I wasn't good at English, so.
I was, and I still remember what that word was. But Makina Dean and that team for Screeching Moose, they had a decent round at Road America. I think they're looking for a bit of a better run here at Sebring and start some momentum in the right direction with the very Canadian-looking Corvette C8R. Love the maple leaf on the side. Nice touch.
It's a very nice livery that I've seen from quite a few of the cars in this field so far.
You know, the irony of this series being Canadian drivers only and Canadian focused. No Canadian racetracks on the schedule, so at least there isn't right now. There could be for the final round. But as of now, all the tracks we're running are either in the U.S. or in Germany.
I'll say that does change. I'd be kind of surprised if they don't decide to pick at least one of the 2 Canadian tracks we have.
I would be shocked if it wasn't Montreal or Mosport for that final round. Here is Just Here for SR with Andrew Potter behind the wheel. The bad news is this is a league session, so no SR going to be distributed at the end of this one. And sweeping to the inside of, I believe that's the Coda Racing car. Yes, it is the 888. They just jumped up to 14th best with Chris Cram behind the wheel, a 157.7. Noticing that the top 7 are all within a second, but the times drop off pretty significantly from 15th on back. And the NASCAR NSS team of Ronnie Wimberly, they're struggling right now. running laps just over 2 minutes. So I think they're just getting it warmed up and up to temperature. By the end of this 2-hour race, Vinny, they're probably going to be going a little quicker once they get some practice in.
Well, listen, Slow and Steady may not win the race, but it'll definitely finish well. And, you know, at a track like this, if you lose your concentration through any one of these cars, you're going to go flying off the track, maybe into a tire barrier. So, you know, you may not be the fastest cars, but might be able to get a few spots from attrition. Don't expect it to be too terribly high, but, you know, you can always pick up a few spots that way, you know, to finish first if it's first finish.
The attrition wasn't super high in terms of crashing and accidents at Road America. It was high with all sorts of hardware failures and internet issues and that thing of the sort. Again, in a 2-hour race, you're exposing the potential for more issues to happen. So we'll keep an eye and see if that becomes a storyline today. Austin Cobb still quickest for Grid Life RWB. Gap between them and Grid Engineering has expanded further to now 0.3 of a second. Emmett Savage in the Apex V2R 880. Third quickest on the board right now.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised by this because that Grid Life car was only, I think, what, 7th, 8th fastest in practice, and immediately to jump up to the top of the boards and continually going faster than the second place Grid Engineering guys who were the fastest cars in practice. So it's kind of interesting to see there if they can maybe muster up something here in the next few minutes. Otherwise, it's going to be ending up starting second. And you got to also, you know, wonder, you know, in the grand scheme of things, does it really matter, you know, starting first, second in a 2-hour race? Probably not, but I think, you know, the higher you can get, the better it is.
Yeah, I don't think you want to start dead last, but if you're starting 7th or 8th, I don't think it would matter all that much. What I'm concerned about is this run down towards this first corner. We're probably going to see 3 or maybe 4 wide on the initial start, especially with grids.
I hope not.
Well, with grids that are, I wouldn't call this a small grid, it's 26 cars, but, you know, this is not a huge grid, at least in terms of number of cars. So you always have the concern of if you feel like the worst you can run is 26th versus 50th, you might be a little bit ballsier down into turn 1, and that might not be a good thing in a 2-hour event. Here's Racing Canada's C team, Matt Jensen behind the wheel, pulling off with the lovely red and black plaid livery on that car. Rolls out right now in 12th. Looking up some more information that I've been so kindly provided. This team, again, with Matt Jensen out of Whitby, Ontario, Tim Salvatore from Port Dover. Currently about mid-pack. Screeching Moose will be just ahead of them, as I think Chris Jackson, someone just beat them. I think it was this car right here. Alex Ellis, the VRAS Satellite Racing Red. I mentioned he and his teammate, Giuliano Romagnolo, will have to start from the tail of the field because of a penalty they received at the Road America event. So they're going to have to drop to the tail at the start, but they are certainly quick, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, again, that's one of those things we're talking about. You know, it is going to suck starting from the back, but, you know, if you had the pace, which it seems like they should, you know, they should be able to work their way up through the order before the race is over. One would hope, but then also, then you're talking about lap 1, you know, lap 1, turn 1. Being stuck back there and, you know, being aggressive. We might see them want to be a little bit aggressive, but they also have to be very careful of any, you know, incidents in the first sector of this track, which you see many a time in the many different races you had here on SimTV. Things can get pretty hairy down there over the first lap.
This is a very nice looking Porsche 911 RSR for Gavin Sanders and SPI Racing. Currently 6th in the session right now. This is a fresh coat of paint, I believe, for this team. And SPI Racing also paired up with Justin DiBenedetto, who also is a competitor in Nissan Sentra Cup. And, if you're familiar, Finian, the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada right now. And so is Gavin Sanders. I believe both of these drivers run the GT4 car on that side of things. As I said, the talented world of Canadian sim racing is a pretty small pool. And these are some of the best in the business from what I've seen.
Yeah, I was going to say a small but talented pool.
So now 2.5 minutes left here in the qualifying session. Nobody's been able to encroach any closer on that Ferrari out front. There was a lot of discussion this week about pros and cons of each car and car type. Now, what I'm seeing, judging by the manufacturer lineup, is that we've got a Chevy, a Ferrari, a Porsche, and a Chevy in the top 3. That doesn't seem to be like seem to me like there's a lot of differentiation between those cars. But looking down the order, the first BMW is down in 18th place. That's a bit of a surprise, and again, no Fords to contest either.
Yeah, still seeing what we saw in practice. The BMW still kind of straggling towards the back end of the field. Like, and they're going to kind of be banking on that long run pace.
Wow.
Coming to them.
As I say that, Grid Engineering with Christopher Roberts goes quicker by 18 thousandths of a second. Christopher Roberts takes him to the top of the board, 155.85.
Ooh, is Austin Cobb on track to answer? He is.
He is sailing right now. He might get one more flying lap.
Yeah, he should be, and he's going to have to try to make it count here again. This is only starting between first and second, but, you know, just like people don't remember who finished second, people don't remember who started second.
You usually don't remember who started first either, so that's...
Yeah, at least usually gets listed as the pole, you know, when
yes.
Usually will get listed
the record
as the
book will
splitter.
remember you, that's for sure.
Yes.
All right, wow, big jump over the bumps at the final corner. Austin Cobb will come across the line, begin his final flying lap, a 155.976. Not going to be quite good enough to improve. He's going to have one more go at it here, and he has taken it all the way to the limit on corner exit, flying right now.
Yeah, he's got to make a 1/10 based off of his last lap, and you know that's not a whole lot. But when you consider these guys are already going really fast, you know, trying to make any gains at this point is going to be really tough to do, unless he feels like he's got something on the table that he hasn't gotten yet throughout the session.
Turbocharged V8 behind the driver, pushing him along at over 150 miles an hour into the braking zone for turn number 7. Right down to the apex, straighten out and drive away. Christopher Roberts is pulled off. He gave it his best shot. Checkered flag waving. No other drivers will get to start a lap, but Austin Cobb will get to finish this one, and this could be for the pole. See the leader lights on the side of the cars. The 2 lights lit up represent that car is currently second in class. Of course, only one category here today. Usually these GT endurance machines are part of a multi-class effort, but they'll be all on their own today, for better or for worse. Through the fast high-speed S's for Austin Cobb. Big cut there in the S's. That might have been a little bit too much, I think. Got potentially a little bit too much curbing, and he's backed it down. Just didn't quite get a good run through there. So, looks like without any significant changes, Christopher Roberts and Grid Engineering will sit on pole. Here is Emmett Savage, and the 880 trying to go a little quicker.
He's going to come flying across the line, nice and tight to the apex, coming out at Sunset Bend. We'll see if he can improve from 5th position. Does he move?
Yes, 155.918 puts him 3rd. Emmett Savage up to row 2.
Wow, and very tight to our top 3, all within a 1/10 of a second. That's impressive.
Super impressive. So the 880 will start in 3rd. A couple other drivers coming across the line. Here's the Ecto Sim Sports car. Matthew Messineuve behind the wheel at the moment in the 150. Love the sound of these Porsches. That's never going to get old. Maybe it will when there's 30 of them on the racetrack. But
I was going to say, there's a lot of them in this field, so if you enjoy the sound of the Porsche, there's a lot of them to look forward to.
Brief discontinuity there for Matthew Messineuve. We'll see if this time still counts, or if the server will reject it. Across the line here, this will be the last driver coming across the line, at the exception of the Event Matrix car with Peter Neely behind the wheel. So can Messineuve take a little bit better lap? I don't have a recorded time. Yes, I do, a 157.9, which is his best lap, but will not be an improvement in terms of track position. Here is Peter Neely. And this car right now last on the grid with a 159.881. We'll see if they can do one spot better.
Yeah, only 4 seconds back, but yeah, as you mentioned, so from 15th onwards, there's over 2 seconds, and then further as you go up the order, much closer, especially the top 10 all within a second of each other, and then the top 3 within a 10th. So looking very competitive up near the top of the grid. It looks like the 14, I think, is going to pull it into the pits, and that's going to end up qualifying.
Top teams of qualifying. The Grid Engineering car, Christopher Roberts behind the wheel, took them to pole in the final moments. Grid Life RWB second, Savage, Crane, and then the Apex V2R 882, third, fourth, and fifth. SPI Racing, Genesis SimSport, Apex V2R 881, Harris Fellows Racing, and then VRS Satellite Racing Red make up the rest of your top 10. Moving into the race here in just a moment. 2 hours on the timing and scoring. We'll take you down to the racetrack in just a moment to go over your starting grid. Finian preparing for this race is one thing, but now to actually accomplish 2 hours of racing without having any trouble, that's a whole other challenge.
Yeah, and you really have to get yourself in a mindset, of having, you have 2 hours to, make things happen. You don't want to choke and make a big mistake in the early minutes because you're gonna have to deal with that for the rest of the race, the rest of the 2 hours. And then not only that, you gotta, with your head down, you have to hand the car over to your teammate to take over the car that you damaged. So that's always the big thing with endurance racing. You don't want to be the one to mess up the run for your teammates. And I know because I was the one that messed up our car in the 24-hour race we ran a few years ago. I was the one that binned the car first. So you never want to be that guy.
And I lost my Class A license and never got it back.
Oh, that was all on your own.
All right, let's head down to the racetrack here. Starting grid on row number 1. It's going to, of course, be Christopher Roberts in the number 8. On the outside, Austin Cobb in the number 5. Row 2, Matt Corns in the 880. Adam Crane alongside him in the number 11. Row number 3, Marc-Andre Seguin in the 882. Then Justin DiBenedetto in the 25 car rolls off in 6th. Brandon Cocker in 7th alongside Zachary Venier in the 881. Mark Harris in the 12 car starts alongside Alex Ellis in 10th. That 19 will have to drop to the rear for a penalty from Road America. Behind them, 11th and 12th, Chris Jackson in the 121. Nikita Dean in the 22. Of course, that is the Screeching Moose Motorsports car in P12. 13th, Matt Jensen in the 7. Chris Cram in the 888 for Coda Racing. Then Dominic Livernoy in the 150. Miguel Souza in the 6 behind them. Last couple rows here, Scott McGuire in 17th, the 66 car. Federico Fernandez in the 20. James Liebrecht and Diego Zuccarelli in the 21. Last couple drivers here, Douglas Doucette, Jason Roy, Andrew Potter, and Ronnie Wimberly. Bringing up the second to last row as Paulo Souza and Peter Neely bring up the very final row here at Sebring. Keys to the race here, Finian. Key number 1, fuel window, fuel runs. How long can you go, and do those Corvettes have an advantage? We'll be following that all day long.
Yeah, this is going to definitely be something to keep an eye on. Then also you're talking about respecting the bumps. You need to respect them or they will make you respect them by throwing you into a barrier if you're not careful. Especially talking about just not only the bumps but also the curbs as well.
Round 2 of 5. This is our second round of 5 this season. Round number 3 will take us to the Nürburgring GP circuit. That will be on April 11th, so make sure that you join us about a month from now. Then May 16th will be Watkins Glen. And then June 20th, the final round of the season, will take us to a yet-decided racetrack. Big thanks again to our partners, Apex V2R, Shannonville Motorsports Park, and the Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. On to the pace lap now, warming up the tires and brakes on these cars. Porsche versus Ferrari. What would be your selection here, Finney? Which is your favorite car of the group?
I mean, honestly, there's part of me that I've been really mostly driving the Ferrari, but actually, yeah, and for the longest time, I bought the Corvette and never really took it out on the track, and then I actually got some laps in it, and I felt pretty confident. This is me again. I don't have a whole lot of experience with the GTE cars. I'm more of a prototype driver, but the GTE definitely, I would say, is the more balanced car. Just feels the more most user-friendly or beginner-friendly for people going into the GTE class. So it may not be the fastest, but I think it'll be the most stable out of all the platforms we have here.
Well, stability and longevity are the names of the game when it comes to endurance racing, especially here in iRacing. Again, 2 driver teams with a mandatory pit stop between minutes 50 and 70. One more look here at the racetrack again, 3.5 miles. 17 turns. It all starts with that run down to turn 1, that fast left-hander. Got to get yourself tight to that wall. Then through the kink to turn 2, and then turn 3. A good passing opportunity here, but the track gets super narrow on the asphalt. Then the run down to turn number 7. We've already been through it here on the pace lap. Next time through it, we'll be heading down in about 165 miles an hour. Then the run to turn number 10 and 13. 2 other good passing opportunities before the fast back half of the course leading to turn 16. Lamont Corner takes down that long back straightaway to turn 17. Sunset Bend. Entering the fast section now. Get one last look at it here under pacing conditions. And from high above, this looks nice and simple. Lots of pavement, lots of runoff area. But this track is actually quite narrow when you're taking it at 150.
Yeah, very narrow, and then you also have to get the braking zone right as you're turning in for the next corner. This is very much a rhythm section, this kind of last part of the lap, and if you miss it, you're going to hit a curb, maybe hit another competitor, especially at speed. So it's a matter of getting yourself composed, getting the car low down in time, and hitting your marks in succession.
Grid Engineering on pole. The number 8 with Christopher Roberts behind the wheel in the Porsche on the right-hand side of your screen. And double filed up a handful of BMWs towards the tail, the big M8 GT endurance cars. But at the front, all Corvettes and Porsches, sans the blue and red and white Grid Life car on the inside, or I should say the outside of that first row. 120 minutes, going for gold. Now remember what's at stake. The winners of this championship get to test a track-prepped car thanks to Shenandoah Motorsports Park and Apex V2R. And it's time to compete for round 2 of 5 in the 2021 Race in Canada Canadian Endurance Series. Field stacked up, ready to go racing. Green flag flies, 2 hours on the board. We're going green at Sebring. Look at them fan out on the run down to turn 1.
Yeah, and already going 3 wide for the lead. Decided that the third place guy decided the leader wasn't going fast enough. Already going to make a move into the inside in turn 1.
Tense moments as everybody tries to filter on through. Do they get through it? They do. And here comes the Grid Engineering car on the outside to take the race lead away. Here comes the Apex V2R in 8-0 with Matt Corrence up the inside. Big jump on the curbs. It's chaos at the front as everybody tries to single on through. Lots of action, lots of cars everywhere. But out front, Matt Corrence from third takes the lead away on the run down to the hairpin.
Yeah, what a great move on the start time. The start to perfection. Still got to defend, though, from Roberts, who's going to try once again into the hairpin now. We'll try again on the outside. We'll see successful on this occasion.
Can't quite steal it back away. Here opens the door for Austin Cobb. He wants second place away. He also wants the lead, but nowhere to go just yet. Follows in line. Door opens to the inside. Jump on the brakes for Austin Cobb. Can he take the lead away in turn 10?
Definitely going to force the car out wide. Now going to be side by side again. The Ferrari really stretching its legs out of these corners here. Is now going to almost hit the grass as he's trying to carry the momentum. And he will go to the lead.
Austin Cobb to the top spot. Christopher Roberts will follow on through. The front has been a revolving door for the opening lap, but finally it single files out. Cobb, Roberts, Corrence for Grid Life, Grid Engineering, and Apex V2R. The 882 V2R car is right behind. Then VRS Satellite Racing Blue with Adam Crane watching from 5th. And everybody kept it straight. We have had no incidents on this opening lap. That in itself is a miracle.
Yeah, especially considering how close, how competitive that start was. 3 changes for the lead in lap 1 at Sebring. That's not something you normally see.
Certainly not. Adam Crane on the 882. Wow, that was dicey into turn 17. Goes down the inside. Not done yet.
Crane getting very close to the wall on entry. Almost clipped it. Was still trying to make that move work. Can't quite get it done. The 882 going to power his way out of the corner. Not done yet. They're down the front stretch. They're
chasing each other all over the racetrack. I think this Adam Crane car is a little bit quicker. Opens the door to the inside for turn 1. Shallow entry, though. Oh, that's almost a touch. Marc-Andre leaving just enough space and no more. Now the run to turn 3.
Yeah, these guys playing with fire, with playing close quarters like this, and it looks like the Corvette's going to just squeeze his way on through into 4th.
Aggressive hop over the curbing as well. That was brought in the SPI Racing Porsche of Justin DiBenedetto. There he is. Oh, on the brakes a little late. Oh, gets in the grass, slide into the hairpin. Can he gather it back up? He does. What a save.
Yeah, that was amazing that he was able to hold on to that thing and just shuts, but he's going to be under attack from the car behind.
Watch this again. Gets on the brakes, a little too late, catches the grass, slide, and full-on drift in a $600,000 Porsche. That is impressive. I know it's in a simulator, but I don't care. That was cool.
Yeah, you're going to be thankful of the traction control on that occasion. Sometimes feels like it wants to kill you, and that time it actually seemed like it helped him.
Harris Fellows Racing with Mark Harris in behind. That is that red, white, and blue Chevrolet Corvette, the C8R, followed by Apex V2R 881 with Zachary Venier. Then 613 Racing with Miguel Souza. Never Quit 11th, Coda Racing 12th, Screeching Loose in 13th. Bit of a battle happening a little deeper in the field as VRS Satellite Racing Red Team, remember they had to start from the tail of the field, back up to 21st already.
Yeah, it's a decent climb forward for them. Now it's a matter of getting their heads down and, getting to it. They did have to start from the, it looks like they came into the pits actually, I think,
yes.
Or either started from the pits for the start of the race. So they got to make up some time, but already carving their way through the field. Pretty good start considering only 5 minutes in.
So out up front, the Grid Life RWB Ferrari has a bit of breathing room, but Christopher Roberts is keeping him honest. 0.8 of a second as they came across the line. Genesis Simsport, Brandon Cocker behind the wheel of the Porsche. Here comes Mark Harris. Bit of a defensive move into turn 3, though, and Harris will have to try again.
Yeah, he tried really hard to make it work through turn 1. It's so hard being that car on the inside to get tucked up right against the wall, and you can't force it too wide as they're going to clip the car to your outside.
The strength of this Corvette is just in its stability and its longevity over the course of a run, and I think Harris will likely get by Cocker. He might be a little faster already, but 5 minutes in, I just don't know that there's a huge rush right now to really go anywhere. Although, if there wasn't a rush, nobody told the guys up front because they were on it already.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a matter of feeling confident. If you feel confident, if you're confidently faster than the guys ahead, then it's worth making the move. But you don't want to waste too much time battling for a position. Speaking of which, here we go for a battle now into the next corner. Whoa, BMW in the grass and sideways.
Peter Neely going for a, wow, big jump over the grass on the re-entry. And did that damage the nose of that car? It might have. Yes, it did, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's just going to get wide on the entrance here. He's going to drag the, oh, he got unstable on corner entry. The car just stepped out on him. And he will rejoin the track in 24th, but damage might have been already done to the nose of that thing.
Yeah, no ABS in these things. The thing might have locked up the wheel. The car went left, and unfortunately, a little bit of damage. See how bad that's going to affect them. I mean, always the nose is the first part of the car where the air meets it, so that's not going to be too great for him to deal with the rest of this race.
Never Quit Racing, Chris Jackson behind the wheel, chasing Coda Racing 888 of Chris Cramp. And behind the Screeching Goose Motorsports car, wow, the 888. Big moment out of turn 17. And Jackson will take that run to the inside. It's the battle for 11th.
Yeah, just did not get a good run. Sunset, unfortunately, the portion behind can't quite capitalize. The Never Quit Racing car. And here we go side by side into turn 1.
Ecto Sim Sports in front of this battle between MC Motorsports and VRS Satellite Racing Red. The Ecto car is the one just up the road there. He is Dominic Vinoy in that car. And here comes Giuliano Romagnolo to the inside. Squeezes by Scott McGuire in the bright yellow Porsche, and now leaves Federico Fernandez on the attack.
Yeah, squeezing is definitely the best word for that. They got very close quarters there. Now got to deal with a BMW in behind. Fernandez trying to get a run here towards the hairpin.
Pokes out the nose. Can't do it too much. He's got Douglas Doucette behind him and another BMW who runs a little wide. Then the average J Racing Ferrari. James Liebrecht behind the wheel. Down 2 spots from the start of the race. I love GTE racing. It's so good. It's just so
really
good.
Is good. I mean, even up in front, too, you're talking about the battles back here, but up in front, the good engineering car, Christopher Roberts, only 0.7 of a second back from Austin Cobb, so still very close up in the front. Thought these guys would have maybe separated out a little bit, but the top 3 pretty much broken away from the rest of the field.
Now remember, I know you weren't here for this video, but for those that were around for Race 1 at Road America, the reason why they had a penalty was that Austin Cobb, there was an issue with the session where he couldn't get into the race. So Alessandrini had to run the entire 2 hours, had to pick up a drive-through penalty, and it set them way, way, way back. Austin Cobb didn't get a chance to even run at the Road America race. Now he's getting to show his stuff at the front of the field here. And they might have their hot shoe coming later. I think DJ Alessandrini is the quicker of the 2 drivers, and he will be coming up a little bit later once we get to the halfway point of this race.
It'll definitely be interesting seeing these when you get the second driver in, how the pace is going to change between these guys. You've got either a faster or maybe slightly slower driver in, and we'll see if that balance changes. Definitely know for a fact Roberts is a pretty quick driving seat, closing in quite a bit through the first few turns.
Exiting turn 5 now, and yeah, you're right, he is closing just a touch. Last time by, ran a 156.983, which is about a 1/2 tenth quicker than Austin Cobb was last time by. It's not by a lot, but he is just a hair faster.
He was the only driver last time through the run on 156. Everyone else 157 or slower.
Chase and battle is on for the race lead. Adam Crane in the VRS Satellite Racing blue car, keeping an eye on him. Looks like Genesis SimSport and Apex V2R 881 just traded spots. Some damage to the nose of that 13 as well. Is this something that they had just picked up or something that they've had? Let's have a look. No, he's had that damage. But you can see the position swap right there. Just, I don't think Vinier got off the corner very well. Cocker was able to take advantage of that. Matt Jensen from RSC's C team. On the tailpipes of Giuliano Romagnolo trying to follow him through the field after we already mentioned they started at the tail.
Yeah, this is pretty good. I mean, now we're only just over 10 minutes in. They're already finally way up to 15th. Pretty good recovery. Are sitting, though, 18 seconds behind the overall leader, so still got some ways to go. They want to get closer to the front, but already made some good progress in the first half of the field.
Romagnolo now working over the overtake racing car, Diego Zuccarelli in the 21 in the BMW. They're up 6 spots from where they started. Now, note on Giuliano Romagnolo and VRS Satellite Racing Red, their secondary drivers, Alex Ellis, who is an ex-Porsche Cup driver. So he's got a lot of real-world experience and talent that he's willing to take to this series, and we saw that at Road America. But also was involved in a collision that probably wouldn't have happened had cooler heads prevailed. Hence the penalty. Romagnolo by the BMW.
Also of note, Chris Cramming, the Dakota Racing Cars, has come down to pit road from 14th position. Not sure what the cause was to that. The car doesn't have any damage. Didn't see it pick up any damage over the course of the last lap.
Driver still in the car. But fueling up. It could be potentially fueling up to do a 2-stopper. I know there was the whole discussion centered around the Corvette was, could it do the race on 1? I don't know if that's what's happening or if there's something else going on in the paddock of that car for the moment. Chris Jackson keeping pressure on the car in front. That's the 613 Alpha racing car. Miguel Souza behind the wheel. Makina Dean in the Screeching Moose car in the mirror you see in the background.
Yeah, trying to hound on him in the Corvette.
Starting to get to the point of the race where you start to just get into a groove. You've done 15 or 20 minutes, and now you can start to build some confidence in your car and push a little bit further. I'm seeing Scott McGuire not have the confidence I would have expected. He just ran his best lap of the race, but it's still 2 or 3 seconds off what we'd expect. And this MC Motorsports car was really fast at Road America. It doesn't seem like they've clicked as well with this racetrack this week.
Yeah, it may have, just figure out the car quite as well as their other competitors, and now it's kind of holding up a train too. They've started in 17th, they're running in that position right now, but they got a hungry list of BMWs in particular in behind them, as well as a Ferrari and a few Corvettes. So they're all kind of stacking up, and if they make one mistake, they could be dropping down a few more positions.
A little wide for the BMW chasing. That's Douglas Doucette. Struggling with the nose of that car just a touch. And Average J Racing, James Liebrecht in the 207 car. Feeling a lot of pressure, or giving a lot of pressure to Federico Fernandez in the number 20. That's that blue M8 right in front.
Yeah, I was just kind of flexing his muscles, trying to show I can make a pass in you in turn 1 if you're not careful. Just trying to show that he is a threat in behind in that Ferrari, looking relatively strong.
Dakota Racing back out on track with Chris Cram. Not sure what that stop was for. Could have been for a penalty as well.
Yeah, it was a 48-second stop, so I'm really curious what they spent doing to that car.
Genesis SimSport dealing with some pressure from Apex V2R 881. This is for 8th spot.
Yeah, both these guys staying relatively stable position-wise from where they started.
My eyes are squarely on Romagnolo, the VRS Satellite Red car. They've just charged through the field. They're halfway to the front. And now the positions get a little harder to tick off once you start moving your way this far forward. But Romagnolo and Ellis are both very capable drivers. And last time by, this car was quicker than everybody in front of them up to 6th. So they are still making a lot of pace even through all this traffic.
Yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, it's going to get a lot harder because after these two cars directly in front, 9th place, the Apex 881 car is 4 seconds up the road, and then further up the order, 5th place. The 882 car for Apex V2R is, I think, 15 seconds up the road.
Never Quit Racing pulls over, lets VRS Satellite on by. And up the road, Genesis SimSport and Apex V2R 881. They're going at it for position, and here comes a move to the inside in turn 1, and I don't think Cocker's going to fight it. He's going to tuck in behind. Now he's going to cross him over. Yes, he will fight it.
Great crossover done out of turn number 1. Now racing into turn 3. Is he still going to be able to hold that advantage? He is.
Wow. That was something. Let's go back and have a look at how he set that up.
Yeah, that was textbook right there.
Nicely done. A lot of these fast corners allow you to do stuff like that. I think we've got trouble. Yes, we do. James Liebrecht and Douglas Doucette, I believe, have been the ones that have tangled. It's on the entrance to turn number 3. Our first car-to-car incident here of the day. And oh, man. I think Liebrecht just underestimated where his car was and sort of came across the racetrack and nosed into the barrier. Another look at it.
Yeah, trying to see, I think was trying to, because there's that little kink there.
Yeah.
I think was trying to line up. I think just misjudged it. Came a little bit too far right.
And no major damage on those cars, but not the way they wanted to start their day, that's for sure. They'll be digging themselves out of a bit of a hole for the moment. Jump back up to 3rd place, Matt Corrins in the 880. And Adam Crane in the VRS Satellite Racing blue car. This is for 3rd.
Yeah, that Crane machine has been working up decently well. I think slipped back to 5th in the initial start, then got up to 4th, now looking at 3rd. Fighting with both the Apex cars.
Into turn 1, just a dab on the brakes, down a gear, down one more gear to 4th. And down to 3rd even for the Corvette. But Adam Crane is definitely quicker than Corrins right now and is keeping that pressure on. A lot of curb through turn 4 and turn 5.
Yeah, really interested in seeing if Crane can get out in some clean air past Corrins, if he can start to maybe chase down the leaders. They've been losing a few tenths here and there a lap. We'll see if that Corvette can finally reverse it now that we're a decent way into the run. Also, I'm just listening to the Corvette. It's just constant backfire as it goes down the straightaway.
It's because it's a fancy motor, I think. It's not the old fancy pushrod, good old boys V8 of the past. I know that there has been a request to review the incident between the Nightblind racing car and the Average J racing car, the incident in turn number 2 and 3. So we'll update you on any information on that. Brandon Cocker and Zach Vanier, 13 and 881, battling for 8th still.
He's not been able to get separated from each other. Vanier, I think he's hoping to get a pass done yet again. Had a really good attempt, but that was a fantastic job by Cocker just to do that over-under. Was able to slip his way back on by. Now they're going to do it yet again, potentially. It's very close.
Look at how much the 881 closes on corner entry. Also, don't look now. Here comes Roman Yolo in the VRS Satellite Racing red car onto the back straightaway. This would be an incredible feat for them to climb up this much in just this first stint.
Yeah, those guys have been very hungry, and I don't think they're going to be showing any signs of slowing down anytime soon.
Clouds coming over the racetrack now. That might cool the track down just a little bit. Remember, it was 111 during qualifying, already down 12 degrees. That's something to keep a note of. In the background, a couple of cars scrapping for position back there, but here comes the Apex V2R car to the inside of Cocker through turn 1.
Yeah, Cocker was not quite able to do an over-under. He's going to try to have a look into turn 3, not quite established alongside just yet, but still not over yet. A 3 is going to be lining up. Next big passing opportunity is the hairpin. They got to get a good run out of this corner right here.
Roman Yolo smells blood in the water for this pair of spots. Size him up for a move down here into the hairpin.
And give you an idea, too, for Roman Yolo, he was the 5th. That car was the 5th fastest on track
Wow.
last lap. Dude, wow, he's going to send it.
Oh,
into the
too much. A little bit of a touch there with the 881. They're still going to touch. And some damage to the 881 to the rear wing. That's not looking so great for Vanier. And Roman Yolo I think he just outbraked himself and he just got him way too deep, way too hot. Here's another look at it again.
Yeah, lick the stamp and send it, but sent it a little too hard.
Yeah, I think he sent it to Hawaii. Just got it. Wow, and then there was that checkup on the exit of the corner where that damage came from. They're not done yet. They're still going to, I guess they'll deal with any penalties as they come later. For now, race is on.
Yeah, it's really what you have to do on a race car. We can't worry about the penalty. Try to make up as many spots in case you do get the penalty.
A little ragged through turn 16 with this trio of Porsches battling for 8th. No changes up front. Still Grid by Far WB by 0.8 of a second over Grid Engineering with Christopher Roberts behind the wheel.
Yeah, that gap is extremely consistent. Is 0.8 of a second, like exactly what it was last time we took a look at the leaders.
And these guys are making me nervous. they're going at it hard.
I'm not even sure if he knows he has damage to his rear wing, but he doesn't care. He's going to have another look into turn 1 yet again.
Well, one way to find out if you've got damage to your wing is send it into a corner where you need it. So,
woo! It gets mighty close to the wall as well. It's still going to be side by side heading to turn 3.
Sun is back out on the racetrack. And Romagnolo waiting for these guys to kind of clear the way. There you go.
Not quite.
Or not.
And it tries to do an over-under, going to go out into the dirt just a little bit. He's going to lose quite a bit of time in the process.
I think we got some drivers a little hot under the helmet right now, I think.
Yeah, not too surprised. They head into the hairpin once again. Ooh, almost looked like they're going to make contact a second time.
Yeah, that wasn't a great line for Venier, so he will have to drop back into 9th and run down Cocker again. I think he's quicker than Cocker, but the damage isn't going to help that situation. Here is MC Motorsports and Scott McGuire with Overtake Racing. This is for 14th place. Ecto Simsport not too far behind.
Yeah, this car is actually doing a lot better. I think it was around 17th when we last took a look at him. I think was able to pass a few guys that got into 17th, but now they're working their way up to the order in 14th.
Looking pretty good, pretty consistently forward. That's the good thing, going the right direction. Right back to this trio. Whoa, big dive for Romagnolo again. But wishful to make a pass in that corner, I think.
It's always nice when you have two drivers a little bit mad at each other. It always makes the racing very entertaining.
I'm surprised that it's gone as long as it did. I thought they would have had this sorted out by now, but clearly that's not the case. Behind them, 613 Racing, Miguel Salza and Makina Dean. Some damage to the right front of the Screeching Moose car.
And also quite a bit of damage to the left rear of the Sousa kart. So I think both pieces going to match up there.
That fits together a little too well, I think.
Oh yeah, definitely it fits very well. They had some contact into the hairpin after it looked like I think Chris Jackson in the Never Quit Racing car. He had held them up a little bit in the hairpin and caused a domino effect, and his car went around. They dropped all the way back to 21st.
Whoa. Stack up on corner exit, Ecto and Overtake. Had a bit of a moment. That's a race car driver's favorite game, is Domino's. Also tag. I think that's what the Porsche guys are playing up front right now is tag.
Yeah, let's see who's going to be it in just a little bit. Last time I think it was Venier. We'll see if he's going to make either Cocker or like Romagnolo it. And Romagnolo, the pace is slow down. Do you think he's taking it easy because he knows that Venier's a little bit mad at him?
He's absolutely not taking it easy. I think everyone's going all out right now, and I'm surprised these cars are still rolling in the right direction and aren't on a rollback back to the shop.
Give it a few laps at the rate they're going at.
Yeah, maybe. All out brawling here in the Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. We are about 25 minutes into a 2-hour event. And these guys would never know. I think they think it's a 15-minute sprint. They are going for it right now. I can't tell. With situations like this, you never know if everyone's mad at each other or if they've all got a big grin on their face, because this looks like a lot of fun.
I feel like, from experience, I feel like it's usually a mix of both. I think it's that initial wave of anger, and then you start having a little bit of fun. Then when you get into each other again, then there's a lot more anger. Oh, there might be some anger here. That's looking to be a very optimistic dive into Sunset Bend.
There's a lot of optimists out there today, that's for sure. Lead is closing up. We'll take you there when it becomes imminent, but right now this is the most imminent pass. It's Zach Venier on Cocker, and into turn 1 he will complete it. Can Cocker cross him over like he did before? He's going to give it a go.
It didn't quite get as good of a run. In fact, Romagnolo is going to be the one to get to him before he gets to Venier. Indeed, they are going to be side by side, and Romagnolo can't quite get it done.
Man, Romagnolo has found a roadblock with these two cars. His progress forward, look at him working that wheel. His progress forward completely stalled by these two. Now he gets a run to the outside, but wrong lane to make a pass here into turn 7.
It depends on the run he gets and how long established alongside he gets, because you see him throw it into this hairpin here.
Look out.
Oh, wow.
Big lockup for Cocker, covers the spot, moves back driver's right. Romagnolo wants by, and he keeps picking the wrong lane here, guys. He's not going the right place. If he wants to make a pass, he's making it harder for himself. Now he crosses and covers. Oh, he gets hit.
Oh, he gets punted across the track. Is he going to take more cars? No, it's only going to be him.
And slides to a stop.
And this is where the drivers get angry at each other.
Yeah, that's about the spot, huh? Yeah, I think he kind of chopped across the nose here a little bit. Let's see. Maybe not. That's a hard one.
He slotted in fairly well, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either. I'll let the stewards come up with that. Wow, lots of smoke in turn 13. And Cohen's going flying. There's a Screeching Goose Motorsports car up the road. And now let's move back to the race lead because we've got a battle for it.
It's been heating up quite a bit. We were talking about the gap being very stable around 7-8 tenths of a second. Now it dropped back to 4 tenths of a second, closest it's been since the start of the race.
I think Cobb might be feeling a little bit of the pressure, although last time by, he ran only 300ths off of his best time of the day.
And Robert, however, the thing is, Robert's what put in one of his best laps of the day entirely. So both these guys giving it their all here in these they're just over a quarter of the way through the race. These guys got at least still about half an hour left in the car themselves before they hand it over to their co-drivers. So interested in seeing how this is going to turn. If it's going to be as close after that fact, or if we may even see a pass before that even occurs.
It is amazing to me how little drama the Ferrari is to drive, and how little drama it is to listen to. The Ferrari is like driving I don't even know. It's like driving a Prius, and then you got the Porsche, and it's like driving King Kong. It makes so much more noise than the Ferrari, and they're both equally as fast. It's amazing to me how different they are.
It's weird because you think that it would be the opposite, Porsche being a German.
Yeah, you think that it would be the well-engineered thing. I think the Porsches use what are those little things that you throw on a table, like a little sharp thing, the game that you play? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, is it
Jacks? Jacks. I think they use Jacks instead of motor oil because that's what it sounds like. Coins in a coffee can at 8,000 RPM. Hey, look, we're back here. One driver fewer, but Venier and Cocker still going at it for 8th.
If they keep it at it, I think Romagnolo is going to try to drive his way back up to them.
Oh, they better get it sorted out by the time they get back there. I don't think we can handle what we just saw happen a couple more times. A lot of damage to the nose of the Genesis SimSport car. We were talking earlier about not wanting to turn over a damaged race car to a teammate, but they're going to have to spend some time on pit lane fixing that, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. He might not argue. I mean, I really don't see. I mean, we talk about it being a decent amount of time, but I definitely don't think you want to throw away some time just fixing up the car. I think at this point, you kind of deal with it. If it was 12 hours, maybe you want to say, maybe worth, buffing that out a little bit, but I think these guys might just have to continue with it as much as they can.
613 Racing Alpha, Miguel Souza and Matt Jensen in the RSCC team right behind. This is for 10th. And behind, there's the NSS Cookie Jar car, Jason Roy. And Ecto SimSport right behind in the 150 car. And just here for SR, the Andrew Potter machine, the C8R. We haven't really talked about this team at all today. Having a pretty quiet event thus far in 19th place after starting in 23rd.
Yeah, they've just been kind of slowly moving up through the order, so Really the best way to have it. Have a nice quiet day, slowly gain position as they come. Speaking of which, was trying to get on that Ecto's Sports car that just had a fairly poor exit out of the hairpin's got a bit of a run here. It might not be able to look down the straight. Well, it looks like this car is a little more draggy. It was actually losing time to these guys by the time they got to the corner. I
was noticing that too. Could be running a higher downforce setup. Could be that the Corvette isn't quite as much of a rocket ship in a straight line as the Porsche. So we run right now in 17th and 18th. 17th for the Corvette at the lead of this group, and 18th for the Ecto Sim Sport car. Just here for SR 19th, an event matrix with Peter Neely in the BMW back in 20th.
Romagnola having a scrap with McGuire for 12th place.
Jesus. Yeah, they are. All the way to the pit wall on the back straightaway. That's more than a scrap there, Finney. You got to freak me out a little bit more. Man, they almost crashed.
Yeah, it started as a scrap, and they were both deciding to put each other into the wall there.
Let's watch this again.
It was really calm until this point, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh, let's take it to the wall."
Take it all the way down. Look at this. Man, I don't think the MC Motorsports driver, Scott McGuire, wanted to deal with that too much. He just moved right over and let Romagnola go at that point. You want that bad, go for it, buddy, on the through. And Romagnola is driving through that red mist right now. He is on a mission. Running still very competitively, around a 157.9, which will put him right back where he was.
I don't notice any more damage to that machine. I think the left rear, I think, is slightly more damaged than before, but the rest of the car looking pretty intact, especially in comparison to the other cars that he left a few laps ago. So I think he's all set to continue at the pace he was going at before the incident.
1/4 of the way through this race, round 2 of the 2021 Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. And we've had our fair share of drama so far. Very little car-to-car contact, just a punt or two here and there. And I'll tell you what, though. The back of this car, the 613 Racing car, he has gotten that thing driven into by an 18-wheeler, I think. That car is destroyed.
Yeah, that was the contact he had with the squeaking loose machine. And it had a very weird angle. You can see one headlight significantly higher than the other.
Yeah, that's a weird way to dent up a Porsche, but they've done it. Miguel Souza under pressure. This is a battle for 10th. And all the while, keeping my eye up front because Grid Life RWB and Grid Engineering are within the margin of error. Any slip up on pit lane by either of these two drivers could drastically change the outcome of this race. But Grid Engineering with Christopher Roberts, they have to look out for what I think is probably one of the best drivers in the field. That would be DJ Alessandrini. As soon as DJ jumps in this car, everything totally shifts as to who is going to be the dominant force at the end of this. The Grid Engineering team driver is Nick McMillan, who is the driver that got the pole away from Austin Cobb in the final moments and is the 2013 GT Academy champion in the United States. We're going to see how those two compete with each other. And the tail end of this one. Nick McMillan also ran, I believe, in the GT Rivals Championship in the SRO America Esports side last year.
Oh, yes, he did. I remember that name. I do remember that name.
So we'll see if McMillan can tackle DJ Alessandrini, who really set the pace at Road America a couple weeks ago, but still about 15 to 20 minutes away from the opportunity to come down to pit lane. We follow battles elsewhere through the field. Let's move forward a little bit. Here's Matt Corrins and Adam Crane. They've been running nose to tail like this for a while, and you have to wonder, is Adam Crane just chilling here to save fuel potentially?
I mean, I could be. I'd be a bit surprised if he would, because I honestly feel this car is faster. He just has not been able to really work his way around corners. He's been kind of sitting here. Again, if it's by will or if he's just really found himself stuck trying to get around this Porsche. I don't think we've really seen him attempt to make a pass, though. He's been kind of hovering at this around half-second gap for most of this race, so maybe this could be, as you mentioned, could be him just trying to save some gas. We talked about the Corvettes being marginal fuel. See if this is the game plan for the 11 car.
I like where he is. I like the position he's in. I think it'd be better if he was following Corrins a little closer to the front, but they've dropped about 8.5 seconds back from that front duo of Austin Cobb and Christopher Roberts. Back overtake racing with Diego Zuccarelli in the 21, going a bit defensive. Jason Roy following him in the NSS Cookie Jar car. Have they made a pit stop already? No, they have not.
No, the only drivers that made a pit stop was Coda Racing, Chris Cram in the 88. And the only drivers come down and get service. Everyone else still yet to come into pit road for the first time.
I think I'm confusing the Coda Racing car and the 75. I'd be forgiven because they're both green. So looking fairly similar on the livery. Coda Racing working their way back, trying to work their way back forward. Running pretty competitive lap times, 1:57.7. They just went the quickest they've gone so far, actually, last time around, but buried down 17 seconds off the next car in 25th spot. Event Matrix and Average J Racing, that's the cars that had some damage early. The Event Matrix car got his damage in turn 10, rejoining the racetrack. Average J, James Liebrecht, got his damage in turn 3 with contact with the
Douglas Doucette.
Douglas Doucette, thank you, the Night Blind Racing car, the 23.
Yeah, he's also right in behind these guys. They're actually around each other for quite a bit afterwards, which is always a little bit awkward.
And there's an Never Quit Racing car of Chris Jackson. You mentioned that Chris had a bit of a moment, and he locks it up again into turn 7. But I don't see any damage on this car, so while they have lost significant pace, it does seem like they've had something happen.
Yeah, they got a little bit, arguably, quote-unquote, fortunate with what happened there. They had a little bit of a punt from the rear and sent the car around. Lazy spin around, but they lost quite a bit of time. But as you mentioned, the car still in one piece, still got it, but have quite a bit of time to make up for it. Especially the last up, there was only a 2:04. So they need to start getting their head down, making up some solid times to make up all the spots they lost to, I think they're running around 13, 14, 15 before that incident.
Well, Douglas Doucette going around for another loop. Have a look at how he found himself in that situation. He's looking a little ragged before. Might get off the racetrack here on driver's left. Whoop, just kind of missed the turn-in point, ran off the course, pull it back on, no harm, no foul. He'll continue. We'll just drop down a few more spots. Miguel Souza, Matt Jensen, these guys have been, you got to be getting sick of each other at this point. They've been following each other for 40 minutes, and no one's really been able to do much of anything with either of them.
Yeah, and I guess, it's going to be these guys just happy to run in behind one another, not confident that they can go faster, and just feel that they found a good medium where they don't have to push themselves to the point of making a mistake, which is always a big thing.
Overtake Racing and Jason Roy of the NSS Cookie Jar team. This is for 16th place on the rundown of the hairpin. Look at the Porsches on the ticker, 7th to 13th, all Porsches. And a pair of Chevrolets up inside the top 10, as well as the leading Ferrari. So within the next 12 or 13 minutes, the pit window will begin to open. And between 50 and 70 minutes, there is a required pit stop for everyone to come on down and switch drivers. You can pit outside of that window, but you cannot switch drivers at either end of that window. You have to pit in the midst of the race and change drivers. So with Austin Cobb and Christopher Roberts finishing, let's start thinking about strategy here. If they were to pit next time by, would you put DJ Alessandrini in right now, or would you want to run to the end of the window and put DJ in at the end of the pit window? What's your call on that?
I mean, it really depends, I think, between both these guys who they feel is faster. I would say, maybe DJ, maybe Austin feels he's a little bit faster. And I imagine they would have discussed this before the race, and that's something I want to figure out in the midst of it. Who's going to take on majority of the driving time, or maybe just, want to split it just about even 60-60. So it really depends on the team, between both the drivers, who they feel is the faster. You obviously want to put the faster guy in as much as possible, especially when you have these two guys running nose to tail this entire race. That could really mean all the difference, who's going to be the fastest at two, and when they decide to put in their next drivers.
I was a bit perplexed when you said 60-60. I thought you meant 50-50, and I was like, I don't know if that makes sense. But you meant 60 minutes and 60 minutes, which makes a lot more sense in the context. Up the road, that is the Coda Racing car of Chris Cram, about to be the only car a lap down. He's running for his life, but he might run out of time here shortly.
Yeah, I'm not sure they're going to get to him before they actually will come and make their pit stops. We talk about we're just on the verge of that that window. But Chris Cram, I'm still curious on why they came in so early, and they got 48 seconds to service, so either serving a penalty or servicing the car. So I'm curious what happened to that team, and if maybe they decided to. I'm trying to like think about what they could have done so early in the race.
Well, front two have checked out by 9 seconds over third and fourth. That's Matt Corns for Apex V2R880. And the 11 of VRS Satellite Racing Blue. Then it's 4 seconds back to the Apex V2R882 car. And whoop, here's a battle for position. There's Matt Jensen, and hello, Giuliano Romagnolo, making the highlight reel once again.
Yeah, I think the entire highlight reel is going to be Romagnolo.
On the ragged edge here down the back straight. Driver's left. Maybe not the preferred line, around the outside. Can he make it stick? He does, up to 11th, and he is almost back to where he was prior.
I think we definitely have seen from him that he doesn't care if it's the preferred line or not. He's going to try to make it work.
The preferred line is the one that Giuliano Romagnolo wants. It's not any mathematical formula. It's just the one that Romagnolo wants right this second, which might take you out to the parking lot and down to the Arby's and back, but he'll get there probably faster than everybody else.
He's about 7 seconds from taking either Crocker or Beignet out to the back of an Arby's.
I have a little bit of a discussion, to say the least. Back up front, Cobb and Roberts. Gap has been closing, but also sort of steady. And, trouble. Venier's around. That's a hard impact into the concrete.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if he's up, and it looks like that's going to be retirement, maybe.
Whoa, he was off long before he got into the fence. What happened here?
Was this hardware failure?
Could be. I mentioned that this was a common theme at Road America. Let's watch the steering wheel, see if it locks in a strange spot.
Might have lost the screen.
Yeah,
it looks like he might have had like a screen disconnect or a screen problem. That's unfortunate.
Exactly like what that looks like. We're going to draw. Wow.
Whoa.
Right back in front of, I believe that was Cocker. But no, that car is likely done for the day. That's pretty heavy damage on that car. That's what happened so much at Road America was hardware failures, internet issues, server issues. Cost a lot of people a lot of spots. It will cost the Apex V2R881 a run at a top 5 here this afternoon.
Just can imagine that happening in real life. You just can't all of a sudden just can't see where you're going.
It's like when your hood pops up.
I mean, usually in a lot of cases the hoods are in a way where you can kind of see. You can get some, and I mean, you can also look to your left too, for reference, where you just can't see anything in front of you or around you. That's a terrifying thought.
It looks like Chris Cram is going to go a lap down before these drivers will have a chance to pit. Now it shifts the focus of Austin Cobb to getting by traffic, as well as holding back the grid engineering of Christopher Roberts.
Yeah, hopefully this isn't going to be too much of a factor, but I'm sure Roberts is going to hope that it's going to be a factor. Maybe give them a shot to take the lead before pit stops occur.
Into the S's here, about 7 minutes till that window opens. We saw a lot of drivers sort of take that run pretty deep in. They didn't pit right at the window opening. They waited a little while to make that stop. And down the long back straight, half a second between those front two. Here's a battle for 12th, MC Motorsports, Scott McGuire. And Screeching Moose Motorsports, Makina Dean.
Yeah, that MC Motorsports car has done pretty well. It got off to a very slow start, but up into 12th place now. But as you mentioned, our attack from the 22 in behind.
All for 12th spot. And behind them, a little even crazier action. Here's Diego Zuccarelli and Jason Roy for Cookie Jar in the Corvette chasing the BMW here. That car definitely backfiring, as you mentioned. There's something up with that car.
Yeah, one thing you might want to check the engine for the Corvette is constantly down straights.
I thought the BMWs were supposed to be the unreliable ones, but clearly that isn't modeled. Back up front into the traffic. An hour and 16 minutes remaining in round 2 of the 2021 Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. Austin Cobb still running times within just a couple thousandths of their best lap. They're getting faster as the run goes on, which is going to sort of be expected with the way these tires and the fuel wears. Fuel load lightens up towards the end of the run. The other thing to note is where these cars fuel. I believe the Porsche fuels in the nose, so as that fuel burns off, the car will lighten in the nose, and it might change the handling in a different way than it would in the Ferrari.
I always love the Ferrari seeing it coming for a pit stop. You see the guy. They used to actually literally have the guy just jump on the hood of the car. As you see Austin Cobb working around the lap car. But the fuel man would just jump on the nose of the car and throw it in. Now they just kind of like awkwardly lean.
It'd be really fun to jump on the hood of $1 million Porsche.
I think that's why they stopped doing that.
So through the traffic, and it does hold up Christopher Roberts a touch more. Closest battle on the racetrack right now is Diego Zuccarelli in the BMW, Jason Roy, Andrew Potter in the black and green Ferraris, and behind 16th and 17th.
Corvettes versus the BMWs here.
Here's Ecto Sim Sport. And Event Matrix with Peter Neely in behind into turn 10. They've got, whoa, spin, slide. And Event Matrix grinds to a halt again. This turn 10 area has been a challenge.
Even Ecto Sim Sports up ahead, they also went for a small trip to the grass. Lost 1, 2, maybe 3 spots here.
There's a look. Just cheats over a little bit too far to the left here maybe, or no, they got in too hot, probably looked up in the mirror and got distracted by Peter Neely car coming.
Yeah, I think Neely also, looked at the Ecto Sim Sports car braking a little bit late, and then also he clipped the grass. I think that definitely didn't help him out either.
Well, got back rolling, and this time didn't damage the car in the process, although the damage still is left from the first time that car did that.
Yeah, I'm sure he's not a fan of that corner.
No.
The second time he's had trouble down there.
Jason Roy, Andrew Potter. There's a opening the door to the inside. Potter sees the door and will not jump through it just yet. He'll tuck back in line. Overtake Racing, an LSM team with Federico Fernandez. Wow, everyone's all over the place at the exit of turn 1. I don't know where everyone's going. The road, Miguel Souza and Matt Jensen, these guys have been nose to tail all day long. I think they're just looking for a change of scenery at this point.
Yeah, I can imagine they've been one of our 2 pairs that we've been seeing close together. Right? Adam Crane, Mackenzie Torrance also nose to tail, same thing with Roberts and Cobb. So guys, just kind of happy just to, running at a decent pace. I guess figure this is the best way to go. I'm surprised they haven't even made it, haven't really, or at least from what we've seen, have made an attempt to get by. He's looking kind of close here, so we could see that maybe change here.
Well, maybe there's no real rush. Look at the times. Last time by was the best lap that Jensen has run all day long. Same for Christopher Roberts. He has just run his best lap time of the day. Federico Fernandez has just run a lap that I think he'd like to forget. Had a bit of a spin on the entrance to turn 13. Let's go back and have a look at how it started. Oh, made some contact there with, I believe that's the Overtake Racing car, and stacked them all up.
Yeah, gonna lose quite a bit of time within a very nice close battle there.
Yeah, just one of those accordion moments where you don't have anywhere to go, really. We'll drop down to 17th place for the lead. 0.3 of a second, getting close to pit stop time now.
Fastest. These guys are only getting faster and faster as this run's going on. I think Roberts may be feeling now might be a good time to strike here.
Some more traffic coming up the road as well. And for Austin Cobb, knowing that there's traffic, that's an opportunity to duck out as soon as you can to come hit pit lane, but it will not be open this time. They'll have to go at least one more lap.
Yeah, the meat of the traffic that they're coming up towards is on the front straightaway at the moment. The 502, the 150, the 14, they're all kind of within, I think about 6 or 8 cars within 10 seconds of each other. So that's, I think, the group they're going to want to try to avoid looking up the road.
So an hour and 11 minutes remaining. Next time by, they should have the green light to go ahead and pit. And with that lap traffic coming, I think that will be a significant incentive for those leaders to come on down, check up. Whoa, that got a little bit tight there.
Needed it a lot tighter for Austin Cobb. Did not get a good run out of this corner. Roberts, however, did get a decent run. Might try to use a little bit of slipstream, whatever he can. Maybe have a look here into the hairpin.
Has a look, pops out of line. Will Cobb outbrake himself? He will not. No pressure felt. But it is definitely race on at the front of the field here. And they have such a big gap. It's 12.5 seconds back to Matt Corrins. As long as these guys don't physically wreck, it's going to be a battle between these two for the rest of the day.
That's going to be the big if, although so far they've been very respectful of one another, especially on the opening lap too when they were all close quarters, so I don't see that changing anytime soon.
That's just the baseline expectation of the Race in Canada series, is race each other with respect, and everybody's done that so far. The incidents we've seen have been, for the most part, pretty forgivable. Although there was one exception to that back at Road America, and that has been dealt with. But Austin Cobb certainly does not have any more gap to live with. He's got about a foot between him and the front of that Christopher Roberts machine.
Also noticed that Roman Yolo has gotten past Brandon Cocker for 8th place.
Roman Yolo still on the charge. Let's see if anybody hits pit lane this time through. They're going to stay out and run this out a little longer, I think.
Yeah, I think honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are just going to run this out as much as possible until they really need to come into pits. Maybe you might see them, again, really the matter of when DJ or McMillan feel that they want to jump into the car and take over.
You mentioned Roman Yolo. He's up to 8th, and given the day that these guys have had, they started at the tail of the field from a penalty from Road America, drove all the way up to about 8th spot, then spun out, and now that they've driven back to 8th spot and continue to run some of the fastest laps on the racetrack at 56.9 last time through, which was their best time of the day and the 3rd best time of anybody in the race. So they are really make that 4th best time of anybody in the race. They are flying right now, and any of the incidents they had earlier are not holding them up now.
Yeah, and also looking at Roman Yolo, he's got 17 seconds up the road to the next car to pass, so it's going to be a decent way up ahead of him.
Here's Matt Jensen trying to finally get by Miguel Souza into Sunset Bend. We'll go the short way around, and I think he'll have that pass complete. He certainly will. Can Souza cross him over? Not with a big enough run to do anything with it. Up front, the chase still on. And while they're fighting, they're still driving away from 3rd and 4th place. Matt Corrins and Adam Crane, who are kind of in their own little bubble, competing for a podium.
Yeah, I think those guys are more focused on each other at this point, not trying to force the issue any more than they need to. Don't want to wreck the car, pushing for more glory, especially when you're at top 4 position.
Jensen Souza still fighting for 10th spot on the grid, but no response yet, at least seriously, from Souza. I think Souza's a little bit better in this midsection of the racetrack, a little better in the tight and twisties, but isn't quite as fast in the flowing stuff, which is where Jensen seems to be getting those runs. Keep an eye on both the front battles for 1st and for 3rd. And this has been a phenomenal battle. These leaders have never been more than 0.8 of a second apart. And looking up the road into the hairpin, they have lots of traffic coming. And look at the mirror. All you can see is Porsche.
Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing, and again, not sure this is the way Roberts is either changes driving or what now, but that Porsche is looking to come alive in towards the end of the stint. So I think we're looking at, maybe the Porsche, Ferrari might be able to stretch its legs a little bit earlier on in the run when DJ gets control, but towards the end, it looks like that Porsche with McMillan, it might start to be a threat. It's really the closest we've seen these guys, and it's only been getting closer as it expanded to 7/8 of a second. It's been staying under 3/10 of a second for the most part.
Last time by, Austin Cobb ran his best lap of the race at 56.1. Christopher Roberts did the same, a 56.18. Roman Yolo ran his best lap time at 8th, a 56.9. Justin DiBenedetto ran his best lap of 57.6. Looking down, farther down the order, I think that is all that ran their best times, but the speeds are picking up, and if you're not getting faster, you're going slower. Will anybody hit pit lane? Not this time. Ecto SimSport will. They were about to go a lap down, so they'll be one of the first drivers to hit pit lane. They actually are. So put the Ecto 150 in. Dominic Livinoy will jump out of that car and will turn the keys over to their other team driver, Matthew Messinov, who was the one that qualified this car. That Porsche is so good on the brakes. And you know what really excels, Finney, is all that weight over the rear tires. Again, this is a kind of mid-rear platform on the Porsche. It just gets up and goes when you put the throttle down, and that's really where it's good. The Ferrari seems like it's got an advantage in the transient maneuvers, the high-speed flicks, but digging out of the low-speed stuff, that's where Christopher Roberts really seems to have an advantage, like right here.
Yeah, as ours pick up and closes in just a hair bit on the Ferrari, as they're actually both closing in on some lap traffic just in front of them, so I think you're going to catch at least one of these, definitely the Corvette in front, before this lap is over. So we could see this change hands here if Roberts is waiting for a moment to strike.
Ronnie Wimberly in the 502 for NASCAR NSS. But as you mentioned, they're going to have to dispose of at least one of these cars before the lap is over. Oh, a big cut there for the orange car. He's going to move over driver's right. Nice call there to get out of the way. As we near the halfway point of this approximately 62-lap race, Austin Cobb for Grid Life RWB leads Grid Engineering with Christopher Roberts by just about 3 car lengths. Big slide through the right-hander. And here comes the Grid Life RWB car to pit lane. A nice call there with the traffic up ahead.
And just going to throw it in, so we're going to see a little bit of a split here. Curious if Grid Engineering is going to either react to this immediately, maybe continue on their own.
Well, if they were going to react, they probably would have come this lap. So they might run until the end of the window. But I don't like this call because now they're dealing with all this traffic that Austin was trying to avoid.
Maybe they felt confident in ability to maneuver. That traffic did die out quite a bit. They really separated it out quite a bit from where it was about 10-15 minutes ago. So as he's going to easily work by the BMW, it's not going to be as bad as was looking earlier, where they were fairly nose to tail.
The 880 and 882 Apex V2R cars are in pit lane. We'll turn it over to Emmett Savage and Pete Fitzsimmons as Alessandrini climbs behind the wheel of the number 5 Grid Life RWB car, and he will get onto the racetrack. Harris Fellows Racing again with Mark Harris behind the wheel. Co-driver of this car when they turned over here in a few minutes will be the son of Ron Fellows. And he'll jump in here in just a couple minutes. But accelerating out of turn number 7 and onto the backside of the road course. Mark Harris continues to run. This car has been quietly running in the top 10 so far tonight. A couple other cars to hit pit lane. Looks like VRS Satellite Racing Red will change from Roman Yolo to Alex Ellis. And Ellis will climb behind the wheel of that number 19.
Yeah, they're all starting to file into pit road now. As we're about halfway through the period, halfway through the window to change drivers, and just about a little bit less than half of the guys have come down to pit lane. And Christopher Roberts, he's now just entered pit lane.
So interesting call to stay out that extra lap. We'll see if it paid off for him. And for DJ Alessandrini and Austin Cobb, their pit time from pit in to pit out was 58.1 seconds. We'll see if Christopher Roberts can beat that. Where is the Grid Life RWB car? It's entering into turn 15 right now, so there's still a little ways for them to go.
Yeah, it was 34 seconds in the box for that Ferrari as well. And we'll see if that, if we did see Roberts have to deal with one lap car through sector 1. On the one lap he was separated from DJ. We'll see if that's gonna play into effect here when he comes out of the pits.
So Nick McMillan staying in the box for a couple more seconds. Will he?
Oh, he stalled.
Oh, stalled the engine.
Car.
And they'll have to refire. Here comes Alessandrini with a big run down the front straight. McMillan did not get the car fired, and they will come out behind DJ Alessandrini. Let's just ride on board with that situation here and see what it sounded like. Right there, engine dies. And that was costly. They might have actually come out pretty dead even with Alessandrini, but with that stalling, let up the clutch too early and killed the motor. They are now 3 seconds back from number 5.
That's pretty much exactly what they lost. They're looking to have a pretty much exact pit stop time, but about 34.1. It was looking maybe 34.3. Just about the same, but they lost 3 seconds on that from that stall. It's exactly how much time they are behind DJ. I think they'll definitely be able to catch that, make that time back up. I mean, we do have to see, though, the difference between Alessandrini and McMillan, if it's going to be similar to the difference between Cobb and Roberts.
Adam Crane leads this race. Has another 5 or 6 minutes to come on down and hit pit road. And we'll turn his car over. Again, they had issues, hardware issues at Road America, and are not looking to repeat those. And here he comes onto pit lane. Nice aggressive entry here.
You're trying to make him as much time as possible here. He's, I believe, still racing with, which car was that? I think the 882 Apex VR2 car.
Yeah, that was Pete Fitzsimmons who's taken over that car. Emmett Savage, 5 seconds back in the 880. So half the field on pit lane. Only a handful more cars have yet to come on down. One of those a Screeching Moose Motorsports car with Makina Dean. MC Motorsports with Scott McGuire there, the bright yellow Porsche. But under an hour to go here as Adam Crane exchanges his vehicle. Keeping an eye on McMillan and Alessandrini. DJ comes across the line, his first lap, a 157.5 at speed. McMillan still warming up here on an outlap. But next time by, we'll know really where everybody stacks up and whether or not McMillan has any chance of running down that race lead.
Yeah, so far the outlap not too terribly good. Dropped from 3 seconds to 3.8 seconds over the course of a lap. Let's see. Once you get some tires up to temperature, if that can improve. I also of note for Adam Crane, I didn't hear him on the radio. I wasn't sure exactly what he's talking about before. He's asking for race control to apply a penalty for not having a driver change, and I was looking and seeing that he doesn't have a co-driver yet. In fact, actually left the session.
Oh, well, that's not what we wanted to see. So Adam Crane was running up inside the top 5, and looks like that might be it for them today.
Yeah, there's no other driver listed for them, so that's gonna be day over. Unfortunate, because it's such a good running car. It was a third, fourth place car. It's gonna be out of the event just like that.
To Apex V2R 882 and 880 running 3rd and 4th. Davin Sanders for SPI Racing. He's made a stop and runs 5th. This is a car we didn't talk a whole lot about today, but the pace is there, the consistency is there.
Yeah, also of note, too, for Emmett Savage, talking about the 880, spent quite a bit of time in the pits, 1 minute 1 in his box.
Fixing potential damage, maybe? But I don't remember if this car had damage earlier or not.
Yeah, I don't think it did either. I don't know, it was clean as can be coming in. Maybe tires?
Maybe.
I mean, that's what I gotta imagine it has to be, right?
You'd have to make that jump. As we come across the line this time through, this will be our 33rd lap complete. Alessandrini across the line. Will he improve on a 57.7? It's a 57.7 again, but Nick McMillan only a 58.4, so that lead is very quickly expanding.
Yeah, McMillan looking like he's struggling to... Oh! Oh, no, sorry. No, Miller looked like he's struggling to turn the car on, not figuratively. Just really bring it to life. That was a very poor choice of words.
Yes, it was. Here, wow, Alex Ellis around the outside of Sam Fellows. This is a battle for 8th. Sam Fellows, wow, a little bit of crowding there. Whoops, look out, Alex.
A lot of crowding.
Again, Sam Fellows, the son of famed road racer Ron Fellows. Ellis, a huge dive into turn 14, and through he will go.
Wow, it was impressive that he was able to make that stick. That is hard to pull off in that corner in particular. He's going to hold off in this case, and that's Corvette that was still charging.
Fellows can't respond. He will run in 9th as Alex continues the charge forward for VRS Satellite Racing Red. Hopefully they can get a decent day out of this. Again, their teammate with Adam Crane, buried in 24th, done for the day. And it will be a disqualification to go with that, unfortunately, for Adam Crane. Never Quit Racing is going to put Tony Klusterman behind the wheel now. We already mentioned Tony. Having won a rally back in 1979, is the oldest driver in this field by a pretty sizable margin. The last number I heard, I believe it was 68 years old.
Still got it, man.
Yeah,
awesome.
He's still got it. Having a look here, Alex Ellis closing in on the 888 of Chris Cram. Now, remember this 888 pit earlier in the day. They've been running now for 27 laps. So they pit earlier and will have to pit again. But it's potentially a different strategy for this 888 car.
Yeah, I'm just curious because there is a mandatory amount of time for the driver change, right?
Yes. I think they've already surpassed it. Or they will in 10 minutes, I believe, or 5 minutes rather.
No, I'm just saying like when you exchange the pit stop time, there's like a mandatory amount of time you have to wait after someone else gets in, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so. I think the bigger concern is that I don't think, can you make this race on one stop has really been the question. So I think they're trying a two-stop strategy, and the pit stop time is only for the pit stop with the driver change. Whoa, Alex Ellis again going off-roading. This team has been wild. They're all over the place, man.
You'd think it's usually just one driver, but it seems that both cars.
It's like Penske Racing out there, man. It's like Penske Racing NASCAR drivers. Making a show out of it, at the very least. Lost some time doing that, though. Night Blind Racing, Darian Roy. Hello, Matthew Maisonneuve. They're going to have a bit of a touch in turn 7. Awkward exchange there.
Quite a little bit close quarters there.
A little bit, yeah, I think so.
Whoa, might see it again.
We both saw that coming from a mile and a half away, and I think they did too. They managed to miss it.
They did.
Through turn 13, big curb jump for Roy. Maisonneuve gets a really sizable run on corner exit. He might have a look here into the S's. Whoop. Understeer. Now corner cut. Oh, man. Ecto making it fun, too.
Again, making up the entirety of the highlight reel.
Yes. Ecto Sim Sports and the VRS Satellite Racing Red team, I think, are the only two that will get any time on screen in the highlight reel. Here's Screeching Moose and MC for 9th.
These guys have been around each other for, I think, the last 30 to 40 minutes or so. Duking it out for 9th place.
Christopher Cook taking over the MC car. Taylor Parsons in Screeching Moose. Also a change for position up the road. Alex Ellis has gotten by Chris Cram, this time on the racetrack. And sets his sights on the top 5, which is 23 seconds up the road. Cook and Parsons going at it.
Yeah, I was just looking at Parsons. Got a very poor exit out of the last corner.
Again, after you do a driver swap, the secondary driver might not have as much practice coming into the event and isn't warm. It takes them a couple laps to kind of get back up to speed. And so you're going to have a lot of shuffling the moments after pit stops, and that's what's been happening.
Speaking of which, also looking at a shuffle for third between both the Apex V2R cars, the 828 falling prey to Emmett Savage in the 880. This is surprising considering that the ladder, Savage, that car had spent a minute in the second in pit road, while the car up ahead had spent 49 seconds in pit road.
Whoa! Car off in the front of them. That's Night Blind Racing with Darian Roy, and that's going to slow up Fitzsimmons just enough to give Savage a look at third place. "50 minutes to go in a battle for podium, and it looks like Fitzsimmons going to move over and let his teammate on by. Emmett Savage jumps to podium spot. Up front, though, Grid Life RWB setting the pace and not looking back.
Yeah, you have to go quite a bit ways up in front, too. It's 40 seconds from back from second place to third. And yeah, McMillan, he's not been able to go forward in the same way Roberts was to Cobb.
Well, I should note, I'm sure that there's some traffic Alessandrini is dealing with right now, but last time by, McMillan was faster, but it was only by 1,000th of a second.
Yeah, it might need a little bit more than that.
Maybe, yeah. If he's only getting 1,000th a lap, he's going to need a lot of laps. More,
that is a lot of laps.
More than we have remaining, which is about 30.
It'd be like the weakest Sebring at that rate.
The 12 days of Sebring.
Oh, God.
That'll rip up the cars, that's for sure. I think the only way you'd win that race or not break is by taking a stock Toyota Camry rental car around it, probably.
Yeah, pretty much.
We
mentioned a rally car.
Yeah, that too. Night Blind Racing, we mentioned that Darian Roy had a bit of an off. And Average J closing back in. Joe Ferguson now behind the wheel.
I also have note Chris Graham and Coda Racing. The Coda Racing machine has come down to pit road again, so we're really going to see what is up with that car and what their overall plan is. It's, I think, the most orthodox strategy compared to everyone else in the field.
I'm going to see if this works. Graham is going to give the car over to Malcolm Strachan in the 888. They're going to drop down to probably just outside the top 10, maybe the top 12. So they've got some work to do to grab some spots, but they are done pitting for the day. Now, other people have to pit. All they're going to do is drive forward, so I can't see how the strategy is totally wrong. I just don't necessarily think it's the best one, maybe. But they're rolling again, 15th, maybe 16th place. Timothy Salvatore and Antoine Takash in the 6th. This is a battle for 12th.
This car still with its the dent in the rear. Still running pretty strong despite that. They even never quit racing. They had a spin early on in the race. They're right in behind this battle. We see a little bit of a lockup from Takash, going to go almost off the track a little bit.
There's Klusterman that you just mentioned.
Yeah, that car moved up quite a bit before the end of the last stint, and now Klusterman going to take over the car back in 15th after a drop all the way back to, I think, 23rd place.
Well, and Klusterman had a really strong run at the end of Road America a couple weeks ago, and just ran his best lap of the day and the best lap for that car. So Klusterman is on a mission. And closing in on Antoine Takash just up the road in that 613 car, which you just mentioned. Now, you mentioned that the rear end damage doesn't seem to be hurting him a whole lot. Definitely not aerodynamically, but you always have to wonder with a rear to mid-engine platform like this, does any rear contact affect the engine performance? It doesn't seem like it is, but I would be pretty careful with the rear end of that car from here on out.
Yeah, they actually ended up fixing that machine. That thing spent a minute and 2 seconds down in pit roads. I mean, got full service to that car.
No other major battles on the racetrack at the moment, kind of getting into the last 45 minutes or so of racing and getting into the thick of it. And Alessandrini's lead continues to just edge away a couple tenths of a second at a time. Last time by 157.1 to Nick McMillan's 157.8. Matthias Perkins in overtake racing. That's that BMW. And the just here for SR Corvette. This is for 16th spot.
Side by side into turn one. Going to try to pinch the driver on the inside just a little bit. And Perkins is going to drop a spot.
Move Curtis James up to 16th place. This car started 23rd of the 26 teams, running 16th right now. I'd say that's a success.
I'm trying to see who's the biggest mover, and I think that would have to go to NSS Cookie Jar in the 75, sitting 22nd after starting in 10th.
And I think technically the one that has moved up the farthest would be the VRS Satellite Red with Alex Ellis, given that they had started from the pits.
Yes.
But then
up into 6th.
Yes. So next would be the NSS Cookie Jar team with Daniel Salmon behind the wheel. But Alex Ellis, continuing his charge to the top 5, has 18 seconds to go and was a second and a half quicker than 5th place car Gavin Sanders. So Sanders better get up on the wheel if he doesn't want that 6th place car to run him down and take that top 5 away.
Yeah, it's been kind of amazing how much speed is in that VRS Satellite Racing car, because it's gone up, went slightly down the order, then went back up again and then some. In fact, was actually the fastest car on track, the number 19 car of Alice.
Continues to put in some really phenomenal laps, and even faster than the race leaders by a full half second. It's absolutely sailing. It wasn't the pace that was the problem at Road America. It was running into a lap car, which drew a penalty. And there was some discussion about that happened post-race. Basically, the consensus was don't wreck anybody. I don't care if they're lapped, was the consensus.
That's pretty good consensus. Whoa! Just saw a car almost go flying to the wall. An Ecto Sim Sports car.
It's probably at the exit of turn 16, I'd have to bet. Let's have a look. Right here on exit, probably grabbed some grassy, bit of a bobble, and chased it all the way to the inside yellow line, but on course long enough. Matthew Mason struggling just a little bit. This car down in 19th place now. Up front, though, Good Life RWB with Alessandrini. We knew that he'd be good, but the interesting thing to note, and this might change in the closing moments when the fuel starts burning off, but so far, wow, Alessandrini off course.
Yeah, well, jinxed him right there.
Yeah, struggling in comparison to his teammate. Austin Cobb was a lot faster. But, again, we might see this change as DJ gets more acclimated to the car, the setup, and the fuel burns off. We could see DJ go quicker. Right now, the team's best lap is a 56.1. No one has run into 55s, but if anybody is going to, it will likely be this driver. Antoine Decache feeling some pressure from Tony Kloosterman in behind, who is having some internet-related issues, but it's only about 0.6 back for 13th place.
Yeah, really starting to have some internet flashes. Never a thing you want to see.
We had a couple people lose connection back at Road America, and that's sometimes it's on the user's end, sometimes it's on the iRacing end. Thankfully, we haven't had the latter today. Yet. They still haven't fixed the sim crashing issues that happened during week 13. That's still a thing. So
really?
My bet is tonight in the Coca-Cola of Kokomo in the Elite Series race, we have a big crash. I'm going to bet we're going to crash.
Crash so hard, it'll crash the stream.
I bet you. Whoa!
Speaking of a crash, well, more so a spin. Kloosterman around he goes.
Yep, Tony Kloosterman in the Never Quit car. Never quits, gets back rolling, but doesn't say never spin. just a little loop.
That's going to be the sister car for the next race.
Never spin racing. Caught the grass on entry. Pretty harmless, got the clutch in, kept the car alive, and got back rolling. Lead has come down a little bit. Alessandrini's lead got taken about 2 seconds out of it by Nick McMillan last time by a 57.6 to a 59.1 for the race leader. I think that was just DJ's off-course moment, and there is another off-course moment for the overtake racing car. That's Matthias Perkins.
Yeah, this is what I cut to him. Just saw him stopped in the middle of the hairpin.
So what happened here? Oh, just had too much pace going in, maybe locked up the rear tires a bit and looped that car around. Again, everyone's been doing a pretty good job of keeping the cars alive and not stalling them when they get spun around. And back rolling pretty quickly and then still running 17th. This Ferrari has been impressive. Again, there was so much discussion this week of which car is the best and can teams change cars and this and that and this and this and that. If you looked at the timing and scoring without the Grid Life car here, you would think that the only car to have is the Porsche. But Alessandrini and Cobb went with the Ferrari at Road America, knowing that it wasn't going to be the best car at all times, but I think the drivers are making up for it a little bit as well. But still no BMWs in the top 15. All Porsche, Chevy, and one Ferrari leading the point here with 40 minutes to go.
I'm also taking a look at the times, lap times being the top two. McMillan has not only just put his fastest lap in the car. Meanwhile, DJ not as fast for him. Still very quick with McMillan. He's picking up pace a little bit here, and it's not completely out of the question. He's only 5.4 seconds back. He can really get his head down here. He can try to claw back here with 40 minutes to go.
I just noticed something, though, into turn 7 that to keep our eye on is watch the right front tire. Bit of a lockup there, and while it's not a huge deal right at this moment, if you lock it up more than once or twice, you're going to start feeling some tire temperature issues in that car. Just here for SR and Coda Racing. Remember Malcolm Strachan jumping in this 888. Well, they have not really found a bunch of pace. Last time by was only a 2:03.0 for that team.
Well, the bright side, they are more or less around where they started. Started in 14th up into 16th.
Curtis James in a similar looking Corvette just up the road. We're just here for SR. And Average J Racing and Night Blind finding themselves on course again. 21st and 22nd. Night Blind, the red Ferrari with Joe Ferguson behind the wheel. Earlier in the day, this car found the wall in turn number 3.
Whoa, and wow, they actually, whoa, hello. Okay, I don't know if we can go back, but they're actually dooring each other down the front stretch a lap or two ago.
These two?
Yes, these two.
All right, boys, what are we doing?
I say it's very worth looking at. I think this might have been it here.
Joe Ferguson pulls over across. Oh, yeah, they definitely did. We're running into each other a little bit. Wow.
Yeah, and it's not done. And a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And almost during each other. And still during each other. And finally away.
And Darian Roy saw a whole bunch out the windshield and the left side door. Wow, that was a tight fit. I'm surprised he didn't catch that invisible wall end that always catches people out there at Sebring. Usually that's, you hit that and you go tumbling, and they're still fighting for positions.
Round number 2. Definitely seems that these two teams don't like each other.
I think at this point, everybody's fed up with a little bit of everybody. Looks like Darian Roy will complete that pass for now. Up front, the lead is, I wouldn't call it stabilized, but it hasn't been expanding at quite the rate it was at the beginning of the run. Alessandrini has a 6.3 second gap. It isn't getting any smaller, but it's not ballooning like we thought it might.
Yeah, it did actually go a little bit higher last lap through, and I think McMillan, he's stuck in behind the lap car. Daniel Salmon in the NSS cookie jar car.
Ecto Sim Sports chasing LSM team, which is in one of those BMW. Oh, see ya. I was going to say they were chasing the BMW, but it's found its way off course.
But BMW's chasing itself off the track.
I guess so. There's a look. BMW seem to have a lot of corner issues with stability on the entry and mid-corner, but I think he just understeered there and just drove off course. So he is back on now, back in 19th spot. We'll move back to NSS Cookie Jar, Daniel Salmon in the 75. They've had a pretty good day, quietly, inside the top 10 now.
Let's see if they can keep it up. They got Farouk Manzar in behind in the Genesis Sim Sport machine, so they're bearing down on them.
running nose to tail now. That damage hasn't really been holding up Genesis as much as we might have thought. And running within only about 100th of their best time of the day last time around. So, still fast and gained so much ground on corner entry.
Yeah, you're talking about the Porsche being nice in the corner, entering the corners, or at least a lot of the Porsche drivers just throwing the car into the corner. And quite a big closing rate. Almost, whoa! He almost just.
Wow, he is going for it. Let's have a look. Mailman is getting busy down here with sending all the mail.
I think so. I gotta get the USPS all Porsches apparently. The way these guys have been sending it. Look how far back he almost ended up rear-ending him here.
Oh man! All right, Farouk, let's calm down. He sees that top 10 dangling in front of him, and he wants it. Climbing over 160 miles an hour on the back straightaway into turn 17. And closing in on the final 30 minutes of this race. It seems like now our order has been roughly decided with a couple drivers shuffling around still. But Farouk Manzar and Daniel Salmon, the ones I'm keeping my eyes on, because I don't think we're quite done seeing this battle just yet. Look at how rough turn 1 is. His hands were all sorts of active, trying to hold on to the car. And I think it's Farouk is throwing the car in pretty deep, but also I think Salmon's being fairly conservative right now by the looks of it.
Oh, he was very conservative out of that corner. Got a very poor exit. Manzari's going to be all over him by the hairpin now. Or not.
Has a look. Here he comes. Door open, and through comes Farouk Manzar. Takes 10th place away in the Genesis Sim Sport Porsche. Coda Racing, whoop, trouble for Malcolm Strachan. It's at the exit, I believe, at turn 3. Yes, let's have a look. Grass on entry again. It's been catching all these guys out. And a slow, lazy spin off to the side. And then just sort of nose into the wall. And Screeching Moose with Taylor Parsons has also found their way off course. This is in turn 13.
Corvette's starting to find some issue.
Oh, up the inside. Oh, there was a touch with, trying to see if that was the 613 Racing Bravo team with Mike Brownrigg behind the wheel.
I'm sure that was a little bit of a heart attack from Brownrigg.
I think so. Screeching Moose back rolling down in 12th spot though. And Cookie Jar and Sim Sport still going at it here down the back straightaway into turn 17, trying to go the long way around.
Some of these guys have been extremely good at keeping the car so tight on in the corner. It seems, but you know, when you do that, it really hurts your exit out of the corner. As you saw, Salmon just was not able to get the run down the straightaway as much as probably he would have liked. But also, as you mentioned, he's just not been as aggressive as Manzara has been up ahead. It looks like Manzara is starting to pull away just a little bit.
Seems like he's getting some pace underneath him now and carrying some more speed through the corner. There was a car off. That was, again, Mike Brownrigg in turn 3. It's back rolling. Acto Sim Sports was Matthew Maisonneuve and Malcolm Strachan, 17th. Whoa, big lunge by Maisonneuve into turn 1. These Porsches, man.
Yeah. I might be also get statistics against maybe mostly the Corvettes. He's going to throw it to the inside of turn 3. There's a car spun out ahead, and the car's going to move off the track.
Overtake Racing, Matthias Perkins has looped himself around. All on his own, I believe. Let's see from high above. There's a lot of instability built into that car, and it just steps out. Taylor Parsons has Antoine Decache behind. Decache closing in 13th place. After starting in 16th, they've been trying to move their way forward into the top 10. I don't think they're going to get quite there, but doing their best to move forward.
Very nice line on the Corvette up in front. He's going to peel out, try to make a run here.
Drag race down the backstretch now for Antoine Decache. And into turn 17 is going to sail it down in there and take 12th place away. 2 seconds up to Timothy Salvatore. Maybe they can get a top 10. It's only 5 seconds to get to the NSS cookie jar car. That's that green Corvette right here.
Yeah, I don't think it's completely out of the question here with half an hour left in the race.
Elsewhere on the racetrack, I just wanted to bring my attention back to the front because, again, this gap has sort of been hovering around 6 seconds. And with lap traffic being as unpredictable as they can be, I wouldn't necessarily call this Alessandrini's race just yet. I think we have to wait to the checkers to really feel good about him winning this race because of all the chaos we've seen with lap traffic, especially back in Road America.
Yeah, I think that really many things can happen. It's a matter of where you catch him. If the lap traffic makes a mistake as they're letting on by, there's so many factors come into play when it comes to putting a lap down, and 2 cars involved. It's just going to be Klusterman that spun again.
And Brownrigg again, the third incident we've seen in only a handful of laps. Whoop, this time just a victim. Klusterman got up on the curbing on corner exit.
A victim both times.
Yes. Klusterman was having, well, he had already had his own issue in turn 2. Klusterman goes by. That puts him sort of offline and then jumps the curb.
That curb is treacherous right there.
Certainly is. Wow, Brownrigg did end up in the wall there. Again, here's another look. Gets up on the curb, kind of skates across it.
Yeah, that turn is so deceiving because you can throw it in there, but it tightens so much on exit, and then that curb, you mounted, spins as we saw there with Klusterman. Down he goes.
Alex Ellis had come down pit lane. They took 22 seconds of service, and they're back out. So maybe trying to capitalize on the time that they've got and some clear racetrack. Just joined us here on SimTV for the first time today. Make sure you join us again. Our next race will be April 11th from the Nürburgring. So make sure that you join us here in April. To do that, just hit the subscribe button and drop a like. Make sure that you, if you enjoy it, you help us out with that. We've got more racing coming up tonight. A long day for us here on SimTV. Right after this, in about an hour and 5 minutes, we're going to have the Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series from Detroit Belle Isle, their 6th round of the 2021 season. IR18 Indy cars from the streets of Detroit. Monday is a day off, and Tuesday we're back with Fuel Mission 22 from Sonoma.
Yeah, it's got some nice road course action coming up. It's going to be really interesting to see the Indy cars flying around tight confines of Detroit.
I think we've only ever seen that combination once before, and attrition was the name of the game, and I think we're going to see that again. But the difference this time is we got the new damage model on those cars, which will make that in itself a very interesting proposition. That will be sorry to cut you off. It'll be at 7:15 Eastern for those that didn't pick that up.
Yeah, it's always an interesting thing. New damage model, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing for a lot of the low-speed impacts. It damages the car less, but the high-speed impact, it will end your race pretty much. You have a tire going flying off the car.
Not that it didn't end your race before, but it will end your race more distinctively now.
Yeah, you literally cannot move from where you crashed now, before you can somewhat lift the car back to the pits, and then it can just tell you, you have too much damage.
No, this is one of those situations where you virtually hop out of your virtual race car to get on a virtual ambulance and go get checked out in the virtual care center. It is the biggest change to me with the new damage model that these cars don't yet have here in the GT Endurance category. The biggest change was the sounds and how aggressive crashing sounds. Here's overtake and LSM going at it. As a Night Blind racing car, the other BMW has had an issue in turn. This is be turn 10 area.
Oh boy. I see a Ferrari in behind, and nope, wasn't involved.
Slides to a stop and just noses into the barrier just slightly. Steven Barkovich for LSM trying to hold back the Overtake Racing Team car. Wow, big understeer through turn 17. That's not the line.
Yeah, you really need to, you don't need to completely prioritize the exit of this corner, but you definitely have to keep that in mind. And right there, he's lost a lot of exit speed coming out. He's got to make that gap back up.
Forward, here's a driver we haven't mentioned in a little while, Timothy Salvatore in the RSCC team. Running in 11th right now. They started the race back in 13th. They have clawed their way forward, and they were within 0.6 of a second of grabbing a 10th spot away from NSS Cookie Jar, who this team started all the way back in 22nd.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, we're looking at the Cash potentially taking that 10th place spot away, but now looks like Salvatore was able to get his way by the Cash, who's not too terribly back, far behind, only 2.6 seconds back from Salvatore, but Salvatore about to make that pass for 10th here. We'll see if that Corvette 75 can hold them up here.
Just so impressed with how these Porsches get into and out of corners. And now on the slipstream of the Corvette, this should be a pretty straightforward pass. Will juke out to the right. Provided that Salmon doesn't put up too much of a fight here, he should be able to get by in turn 17.
Yeah, it's really hard to maintain that outside in Sunset Band. I mean, you can try to do an over-under, which it looks like Salmon's going to do, but nowhere to go.
Whoa, slide on exit for Salvatore. Salmon tried to do the over-under there, but it just didn't quite work. I mean, you got to be able to nose under. And there wasn't quite enough space left for that to happen. The slow stuff again, getting a little bit elbows out. Out front, I'm just keeping an eye on the lap times again of the race leaders, and Al Sandrini is not slowing down. He is continuing to put in some of the best laps of the day. Remember that this team is not eligible for the season-end prizing provided by Apex V2R. They are an American team. Got to be from Canada to earn those prizes.
Yeah, but I see, but they really don't mind that, and they're just going to continue out here and perform very well. As we look at another battle further back through the hairpin.
It's the 22 Screeching Moose Motorsports car of Taylor Parsons and Curtis James in the Just Here for SR Corvette.
Battle for 13th position here. Seeing a lot of incidents in this corner. Dive at the inside from Parsons.
Hard spot to make a pass. The braking zone is deep enough that you can get alongside, but the track narrows up significantly and makes that a little bit harder than you would like it to be as a competitor. As it looks like Parsons will have to drop in behind for now. They just came off a lap of a 2:05.1, so they might have had a slip up somewhere else on course. Down to the final 20 minutes. DJ Alessandrini has led 46, so actually this team, I should say, has led 46 of the 50 laps that we have completed so far. And so far this day has been a little bit calmer and more collected than Road America, which was our first round about a month ago. And then we're going to head to the Nürburgring in a couple weeks. And we've seen the Nürburgring GP course lend itself to some pretty tight racing. It's also perhaps the most extreme example of the racetracks that we're going to go to, at least thus far in the season, that have corners with significant downforce. Not something that we've seen a lot of at Road America or Sebring. But at the Nürburgring, you have to lean on the downforce a lot, and that might change the car to choose, which, of course, you're locked into the car all season. So that might shift our order around just a little bit.
Also a decent amount of elevation change of that track. You go up and down quite a few hills over the course of a lap. And a lot of tight corners, a lot of flowing, a lot of high speed. It's a very good mix at the Nürburgring GP track. So you got to really have a car that handles all around in pretty much an all-around setup. You can't really tailor it to one in particular part of driving that track. There's always an interesting circuit to come to. I kind of wish we've actually headed to there more. I don't think we've had too many races happen there.
We just had the Porsche Esports Sprint Challenge Canada race there last week, and man, that was a fun race. That was probably one of the best races I've seen in iRacing, period. The GT4 cars were just on top of each other all night long, never separated. Our fourth round of the season here for the Race Sim Canada Endurance Series takes us to our home track, Watkins Glen International. Of course, now Road America is my home track by geographical location, but I grew up in Rochester, New York, about an hour and a half away from the Blue Armco down in the Glen. And that's another racetrack that you have to rely a lot more on downforce than you think. You'd think with how fast it is that you'd set up for all the straightaways, Finian, but you really make speed through the turns at the Glen.
You just carry so much speed in comparison to most other corners and a lot of other tracks. You pretty much have to keep it tailored to high downforce, and then it leads to situations where you have a big, big weight in behind you, and it really allows for a lot of slipstreaming to occur. The track always puts on some really good racing all the time.
Daniel Salmon following Timothy Salvatore here. This is for 10th, and RSCC team under attack from that 75 car.
Yeah, I'm a bit surprised that Salvatore is going to drive away from this, but hasn't been able to do so. And you're talking about Antoine de Cash working his way up from behind. He's also closed the gap now. It's 2.6 seconds down to 1.4.
Antoine de Cash definitely coming and bringing the party up to the top 10. And this car started this race back in 16th spot and continuing their climb forward. Taking them a little time to get there, but they are certainly making progress. And next time by should be about 10 laps to go, given that we've got 20 minutes remaining here in the Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. Big thanks again to Apex V2R and Shannonville Motorsport Park for providing the season end prize to the race winning team, or the championship winning team, I should say. And big thanks for everybody for joining us this afternoon on Sim TV. Mike Browning would like this race to be over. He has had a troublesome stint. Goes around again at the exit, I believe, turn 5. Might have had some help from Gavin Sanders.
Yeah, that will do it. First, see how they ended up in that situation.
On board with Sanders here, running in 5th. Yeah, that's a tough one. Also, to note, did Gavin Sanders change drivers?
I hope so.
I remember seeing a different name in this car earlier.
No, yeah, Justin De Benedetto was in the car.
Oh, it was De Benedetto. Okay, I was worried that they hadn't swapped, but they did. And this car, again, quietly running in 5th. They just ran their best lap of the race a lap ago.
Yeah, they actually were chasing down the E82 up ahead for quite a while. It got down to almost 2 seconds, and now kind of slowly expanded back out. There actually is the next car they're chasing right there on screen. Kind of stalled on progress quite a while, and now we're really starting to run out of time with 18 minutes left. If you can try to get one more spot, it's going to be so tough because the car is right ahead of him.
And that's Pete Fitzsimmons in the 882 Apex V2R car. And you mentioned at 18 minutes, running out of time to run anybody back down, but I'd say a top 5 is a pretty respectable day, especially considering that they've had, other than the incident we just saw, no major dramas. They picked up a spot from the start. I'd call this a success. Out front, bit of a slide for Alessandrini. He's getting after it. Maybe feeling a little bit more comfortable and confident. You see the lap time starting to pick up, a 1:57.098. That's one of his best laps of his stint so far. Of course, the best lap by this car run earlier by Cobb at a 1:56.1. But that lead is extended now far enough that I think DJ can sort of start to relax a little bit.
And McMillan ran 6 thousandths of a second faster than Alessandrini last lap. They're going to need to be picking up more of those. I think for McMillan, he might be faster in quite a few places, but just hasn't been consistently fast in comparison to DJ. As a DJ puts in a 1:56.87 now.
That was faster still. McMillan only a 57.3, so he's not improving at the same rate that DJ is, and that gap will now be around 8 seconds. Watch the Ferrari out front and other teams dropping down the order, keeping an eyeball on what has happened so far today. There have been 2 drivers that are out, or 2 teams that are out. Apex V2R 881 with a crash earlier. VRS Satellite Racing Blue disqualified for not doing a driver swap. That leaves 24 teams still running. And NASCAR NSS, this is a new team. They've been running in 23rd most of the day here, Finney, but they've been staying out of trouble, and that's about all you can ask. of a new team just trying to find their way.
Yeah, I'm not too sure the experience level of the drivers, but I mean, you know, if they are relatively new to this car in general, and just being new to this group, the fact that they made it through this entire race, again, without any major incident from what we can tell, the car looks to be pretty much as it rolled off the haulers, so pretty solid job. I mean, you're back in 23rd, but made it to the end in one piece, I think is always really a win.
I think there's got to be a glitch with the sound on this Corvette. It definitely is backfiring too much.
No, I looked. Even the effect comes up too. Because I've been looking at chase view sometimes, just constant backfire down the straightaways.
Yeah.
You see it.
I don't think that's
as well.
supposed to happen.
There's a similar thing with the Audi RS3 too, where it just sounds like everyone's on the rev limiter for like half the straightaway. Like
yes.
It sounds like they never hit a shift.
Right. That's always funny because people that don't know what they're going, why aren't they just shifting? Well, they are. It's just the sounds are delayed by enough to make it sound silly.
They're just trying to all blow the engine as soon as possible.
Yes. I mean, that Corvette engine looks like with the amount of flame just shooting out, look like it already is blowing up.
I think the Corvette's trying to be the McLaren. I think is what we're trying to see.
Yeah, McLaren's cool though. That's the difference. I'm just kidding.
We've only got the new one now, at least for the GT3 car.
Oh, the 720.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind. I was looking at the GT4, the 570S. It's not a bad looking car from the front. I don't really like the rear very much though on that car. It's also really high off the ground too.
Yeah, I think the 720. That's the GT3 car, right?
The 720 is a GT3, yeah.
Yeah, I think that one looks a lot better.
It does.
My opinion.
570 is not a bad looking car. It's just a little bit of a monster truck in comparison to what you'd expect it to be. But there is Overtake Racing, Matthias Perkins and Joe Ferguson going a little defensive down the back straight. Average J Racing, this Ferrari is one of the only other Ferraris represented here in the field and trying to move forward, but not an amazing day for this team so far.
No, it's been a little bit of struggle here. Also, a lot of dooring with some of the BMWs. Might door with another one. Woo!
Man, they're playing with fire here. 14 minutes to go. Now it's time to race. If you've got somebody to go after them. You don't have any more time to wait around and do any pit strategy with. It's game on.
I think we're starting to see that with Ferguson here. Got very close to the back of Perkins. Filling out a Sunset Bend, just a very large closing ring.
Block up for Perkins into turn 3, but pays no mind to it. This Ferrari is just so well balanced.
Yeah, the funny thing is too, I find the Corvette even more balanced than the Ferrari, which is a bit surprising. I feel like the Corvette might be harder to extract speed out of, but definitely a lot more stable to see Ferguson charging in. Couldn't quite get alongside Perkins there, but is definitely attacking him and would argue is the faster car. But you know, we always say catching is one thing, passing is another.
It certainly is. Having a look at the timing and scoring tower, Ferrari, then 4 Porsches, then a Chevrolet, then 4 more Porsches, then a Chevrolet, then a Porsche, 2 more Chevrolets, and a Porsche. You'll notice no BMWs in the top 15, and I can't really get a good gauge on whether these is the teams that are struggling or whether it's the car that is struggling. From my understanding, that the M8 is a fairly competitive car. It's not that far off from the others, but definitely they've not found the success that the other teams have in the opening 2 rounds here of the Race in Canada Endurance Series.
Yeah, I would have thought that the BMW is one of the better cars, especially in a few situations. But yeah, they've just not been having really a lot of speed. With most of those 4 BMWs being towards the back half of the field. In fact, the highest one listed in 17th, LSM, the 20 car.
And we're looking at him right now. That's Steven Barkovich behind the wheel. Overtake Racing and Average J switching spots through turn 17. Give Joe Ferguson 19th position. And we'll move forward to find Cookie Jar and 613. That's Antoine Decache. Finally catching this driver and team.
He's been chasing him down for quite a while, so now he's been able to get a chance to strikes for 11th place.
Bit of a lockup into turn 14. I think Decache is quicker. I don't know if he is going to have time to go run down 10th of Timothy Salvatore. Bit of a bobble there at the exit of 16.
Yeah, especially with an off going off like that, it's going to cost him a bit of time. But yeah, definitely has a shot at getting Salmon up ahead.
"11 minutes to go, and DJ Alessandrini for Grid Life RWB continues to pace the field in the high 156s. The only other driver going quicker right now is Alex Ellis, and this is one of those races of what could have been. They had to start from the pits because of that penalty from Road America. Had they not had that, Finian, they might be leading this race. They are the fastest, not only overall lap time, but current pace.
Yeah, and actually they were up as high as 6. I think they might, I've not been able to verify this, but I think they might have had 1 or 2 offs.
And they also pit an extra time.
Yeah, no, I was talking about when Ellis was in the car. Over the last few laps, Ellis, when he took over the car, was running in 6th, and Sam Fellows was able to sneak his way on back. I'm not sure if that was due to Ellis having some issues, and he's been trying to chase him back down. He was, I think, as far as 16, 18 seconds. He's down to 10 seconds now, but I think he's kind of run out of time trying to chase down 6th place.
It's just one of those things that if he had started up front, or where they qualified, which again, they qualified this car in 10th. Had they started there, they might be leading this thing right now if things gone a little differently, but it's not how all the things work here in motorsports. So Ellis will have to try to run down Sam Fellows, but last time by they are running a full second quicker, so it is possible. I just don't think it's likely that he'll get there. Final 10 minutes, about 8 or 9 laps remaining. There's Grid Life with Alessandrini behind the wheel. Streams across the start-finish line, a 1:57.1. Lead at 8.5 seconds with Grid Engineering. McMillan in second.
And for McMillan, it hasn't been as good as that car was running early in the race. Still a solid performance, being considering the next car is 55 seconds back. And it's still a very impressive run.
A little bit of a lockup there into turn 3. Keeping the pressure on. Here's Salmon and Antoine Decache for 11th. Decache is definitely quicker. It's just a matter of how fast he can get to the rear bumper of Salmon and maybe pressure him into a mistake. Lots of speed through turn number 1. Working that wheel hard with 8.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, up and over the curves here. Got to be very careful at this point. I mean, you do need to push. You have to make sure you don't make a mistake. A little wiggle up ahead from Salmon.
In the slipstream now, it's only a matter of time, I think. Sun getting lower in the sky, the track cooling off. Down to 86. Remember, we started this event at 111 degrees Fahrenheit. And almost at the back of Daniel Salmon. Hasn't he almost been in the back of him before?
Well, these Porsches have been in the back of quite a few people, or almost into the back of quite a few people.
That NSS cookie jar car has almost gotten that rear tailgate taken off 5 or 6 times this race. Matthew Maisonneuve and Taylor Parson trading spots for 15th. Maisonneuve makes quick work of it down in turn number 7. We'll focus back on the battle for 11th. The run that Decache is building here through the S's, the fast portion of this racetrack. It's always amazing to watch how far out these drivers will go on the entrance to turn 16 to try to build that run. Salmon gets through there nicely.
Yeah, I remember looking at Roberts early. He was going through it in such a way where the curb was kind of kicking him out really wide. I'm not sure that was really hurting him or if that was on purpose.
Five laps to go at the front of the field. Alessandrini's lead is almost at 10 seconds now.
Yeah, I think we're seeing McMillan, I think might be just starting to back off. I mean, you got 47 seconds back to the next guy, and you don't really need a push to catch the guy up ahead. Matter just making it to the end at this point.
This is one of those frustrating moments in a race where you've started to accept that you're not going to win unless there's extenuating circumstances. And while Grid Engineering put in a heck of a job in qualifying with Nick McMillan edging pole over Austin Cobb by a couple thousandths of a second, They were not able to maintain the lead on the start. And once Austin Cobb got out front, he was able to control the pace of the race. And then remember when McMillan got behind the wheel, he stalled the car, and that put him behind, and has not been able to run Alessandrini back down since.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, if he ended up not making that mistake, had to jump back right in behind DJ, maybe got a little bit of tow until he was able to really confidently get up to speed. Maybe they might have had a shot, because McMillan by himself put in some decent lap times, but I think, with him not able to really get any sort of slipstream to help out, kind of similar to what we saw with Roberts falling in behind, just didn't think he had enough.
Matthew Masinov on pit lane for a second time. Will rejoin the racetrack right behind the Harris Fellows racing car of Sam Fellows. Again, Sam now a full lap ahead of the Ecto-Sim sports car. Gosh and Salmon still the best battle on the racetrack at the moment. 4 laps to go for the race leaders. We are closing in on seeing it pass here if Takash can figure out where is best to make this maneuver on that Chevrolet Corvette.
He actually backed off on the straightaways, which is kind of surprising because he wasn't that close to the back of him.
Bit of a moment out of turn 17 as well. We continue to see the weather get cooler. 85 degrees now. We're going to go from max temp to min temp here pretty quickly. Looks like Salmon just missed the apex in turn 1. That can give Takash a huge run on corner exit, but he wasn't close enough to totally capitalize on it.
Yeah, definitely was able to close up here, and if he can get a good run through the next few corners out at turn number 5 in particular, might have a shot here down the straightaway. We've seen time and time again how many times sports have been able to throw it up the inside into this hairpin or the outside.
And they make it stick, and part of that is because of all the rearward weight bias. You can run a much more rearward brake bias on these cars, because you've got so much weight over the rear wheels that you can throw a lot of the brake bias to the rear wheels and hence slow the car down more effectively. Some of these other cars, the front engine cars specifically, speaking of the BMW, they are going to have to require a little bit more front brake because of the weight shifted towards the front of that car. So the Porsches will have an advantage on corner entry and exit. They will struggle maybe a little bit in relation to top end and also mid-corner speed, which is where the Ferrari is really, really good. And the Corvette is sort of okay at everything. It's not particularly amazing in any one task. It's also really stable, and the more comfortable you feel, if any of you know this, the more comfortable that you feel, the faster you can go. If you're always kind of chasing the rear end, you're not going to be able to push the car to the limit because you're going to be too focused on not crashing it.
Yeah, exactly. That's, I think, really the big thing that comes with the Corvette. It's a car that you can be pretty stable and go ride around comfortably, and it's going to be a little bit harder, though, to push that car to its limits.
Car on pit lane, Alessandrini getting a dash of fuel, and that brings up the question, does Nick McMillan have enough to make it to the end? Was he saving?
Could be. Never really quite know. I mean, we did see that car be pretty fast. I mean, most of the time it just seemed like it wasn't as fast as Alessandrini was slowly falling back, but I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see here. Does McMillan have enough?
You would think that they would know by now whether or not they were going to make it. I'd be surprised if they waited so long. It almost seems like the Grid Life team was sort of anticipated being able to make it and looked down and saw that they weren't going to, which is concerning because they might have just lost this race if McMillan was able to save enough fuel. And remember that
Simmons is in the pits as well for Apex V2R, the 882 car.
Yeah, we expected pit stops, a second round of pit stops. I just didn't think they were going to be that late, so I had sort of given up on them. But remember that 2 laps is a long time around here. It's 7 miles, which is a couple of gallons worth of fuel. So Pete Fitzsimmons from Apex V2R is on pit lane. Think back to Austin Cobb leading this race and Chris Roberts following, all the fuel that they were saving. Finian, that's something that we should consider. They also went a lap further, remember, than Alessandrini and Cobb did on that initial run.
Yeah, it could have been all the difference here as we're coming. Let's see, we got 2 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, next time by, this will actually be white, coming to white flag. So is McMillan going to hit pit lane or is he going to stay out? Coming to pit lane on the white flag lap. This is wild. And are they going to just take a splash? Where is Alessandrini? He's on the backstretch. They took 6 seconds worth of fuel, 6.7 to be exact. Now, can McMillan get in and out? Oh, this pit speed is so impressively close. There's no way. I mean, Alessandrini had a 10-second lead, and he's going to make all that up here on the front straightaway. So this time through, white flag for Grid Life RWB and DJ Alessandrini. McMillan is leaving the pits now, but they were just too far back to take advantage of it. The rest of the field, I'm just surprised they waited this long. They were trying to make it work, they couldn't. And now 3.5 miles until we get back to the checkers.
Yeah, it was amazing to see how close it is. It does look like a decent amount of cars were able to make it only on one stop.
Well, that would be Emmett Savage, Gavin Sanders for SPI Racing, Sam Fellows. You're right, a handful of other cars did make it work, but out front, when you're setting the pace, I just don't think it's realistic to go as fast as they were and also save fuel. Big winner out of this, I think, will be Gavin Sanders picking up a spot for SPI Racing.
Yeah, he was trying to chase down Pete Fitzsimmons and pretty much sorted that out with Fitzsimmons coming down a pit lane.
Trying to get by the 75 car now. That is the cookie jar team of Dan Salmon.
What I'm seeing here, time is about to run out here. I'm curious if these guys are going to have to do an extra lap.
They shouldn't. Coming this time through, we should get the checkers. Yes, that we will get the checkers at the stripe. Sometimes the timing and scoring can get a little bit confused, but it is not now. It's definitely final lap. And for DJ Alessandrini and Grid Life RWB at Road America, it was a penalty that prevented them from taking victory. But after 2 hours of racing at Sebring, in the setting sun here in Florida, Grid Life RWB, Austin Cobb, DJ Alessandrini is victorious at Sebring. And Grid Engineering, Nicholas McMillan and Christopher Roberts, eligible for the prizes. Second place for them in the Race Sim Canada Canadian Endurance Series. They will come home in P2. And it's a long way down the order to find Emmett Savage in the 880 for Apex V2R, the highest running of these three teams. They will come home on the podium. In front, you saw Klusterman in the Never Quit Racing car still maintaining all the way to the end. Could have battered and bruised. They'll come home in 12th. Emmett Savage, though, third, and Gavin Sanders to fourth. Good run for the SPI Racing car.
Yeah, very quiet, understated run as well. Didn't really get a lot to talk about them, but got his head down and just got a really solid fourth place finish out of tonight.
And Alessandrini celebrating here with burnouts. Again, not eligible for the prizing. And we'll have a look here at our race results. Grid Life RWB, Grid Engineering, Apex V2R 880. Your podium finishers for this one. Here is a look at your top drivers. Grid Life RWB, Grid Engineering, Apex V2R SPI, Apex V2R 882. The rest of your top five. 2 hours of racing, not a whole lot of dramas here, Finney. Everybody got it done pretty conveniently and carefully, only a few exceptions to that. We finished with 24 of our 2016 cars.
Yeah, only a few multi-car incidents, really, with only 2 cars, and they're mostly small spins or some slight bruising to the cars, but nothing too major, which is really nice to see, especially on lap 1 after how chaotic the start was. Everyone kept it nice, calm, and collected, and it's just some really good racing overall.
Looking down the rest of the order here, and it says Cookie Jar comes home in 14th after a pretty solid battle there with the 613 Racing Team car. Screeching Moose 15th, a lap down. Coda Racing with their unique strategy ended up 17th. Not a bad run, a little bit better for Road America, I believe. And of course, a couple other drivers having some unfortunate finishes down the order. Apex V2R 881 out. Nathan Block behind the wheel ended up with a crash. All right, we got DJ Alessandrini waiting for us in the wings. Let's first chat, though, with Matt Corrins, who was one of the drivers behind the wheel of one of the Apex V2R cars. Mac, congratulations, P3 this afternoon. Teammate Emmett Savage brought it home in third. Take us through your day and what you needed to get up to the front.
Mostly brains. We were trying the pace thing in the beginning and kind of thought it would be a two-stopper, and then we're kind of looking at it, just kind of starting Emmett stint, and we thought, oh, maybe we can pull this out if we just do a one-stopper. So he basically conserved maximum what he could. We made a mistake of taking 4 tires. We probably should have only taken 2, so we were kind of rebounding from that most of Emmett's stint. But yeah, I guess it kind of worked out in the end.
It seemed like it worked out for sure. A podium finish for you guys. We head to the Nürburgring GP course in a couple of weeks, then Watkins Glen for round 4. Of those 2 upcoming races, which one do you think is your best opportunity to go to victory lane?
Well, we just came off the Nürburgring in the Porsche Series a couple weeks back, so the track knowledge is still there, both in the team and then just me personally. Not that this car is close to the Porsche Cup car, but track knowledge is track knowledge, so I'd like to think we have a shot there. We've slowly been moving up the order. We were in contention last race and had a hardware issue, so yeah, I think we're there or thereabouts.
All right, Matt Corrins, 3rd place in the Apex V2R 880. Congratulations. Podium finish for you and Emmett. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Move on now to Chris Roberts, who was one of the drivers in the 2nd place car today, the Grid Engineering number 8. Chris started things off with a bang in qualifying, just edged out the Grid Life team. When it came to the race, the first couple laps were pretty darn wild, but you did come home in 2nd. Tell us about your day and what you needed to go run down that 5 car.
Man, yeah, the qualifying was, I knew that Austin was going to bring his A game. It was really cool. Lap 1, dicing it up with the Apex V2R teammates and running the Grid Engineering livery. And we were kind of doing some fuel saving in the first stint, and we were thinking maybe we could try to edge this thing out for the whole run on one stop. And then we just kind of fell short on the 2nd stint trying to do that. And man, it was a lot of fun, and we appreciate it.
Well, a really strong run for you at this race. We've got the Nürburgring GP course coming up. That leans a little bit more heavily on the downforce of these cars. How do you feel about the Porsche as an all-around car for the rest of the season?
I was a little discouraged with the Porsche at Sebring and the lack of acceleration and lack of top speed. We maybe ran a little too much wing, so a track like the Nürburgring GP might actually suit this car a little bit better. So to hang in there on this track makes me hopeful for the upcoming tracks.
All right, Chris Roberts and Grid Engineering, 2nd place today. We'll see you at the Nürburgring.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. We're going to talk now with our race winning team. That was, of course, DJ Alessandrini and Austin Cobb, the pairing that finally got to race with each other today after not having the ability to get Austin in the race at Road America. You guys came out with a bang. Qualifying was pretty successful. Started on the outside of that front row. Austin, take me through those opening laps and that whole first run. Pretty wild in the opening moments.
Yeah, that first half of lap was pretty crazy and a lot of fun. Looked like Mac got a great run off the green flag, made it 3 wide right off the rip. And, you know, we were all playing nice together, but also jockeying for position. It was a lot of fun, but once I got out front, I was just trying to set down a solid pace and make Chris chase me for an hour.
And chase you he did. DJ, you jumped in the car and managed to hang on to that lead and sort of extend it towards the end. From a strategy perspective, there was some concerns to be had about fuel mileage and all that sort of stuff. How much sciencing was happening in the cockpit and how much was happening on the pit box?
Honestly, if we were in 2nd, I think we might have been able to extend the race into a one-stopper just because we pit and then literally the next lap was a white flag. So if we just extended that first stint lap and then we just have to extend the 2nd stint the lap, and we would have been able to do it on one stop. But honestly, Austin made my job easy today. He put down the banger first stint, and I just hopped in the car and did laps, and really it just felt like I was practicing. I didn't really get a chance to race anybody, so Austin made my job real easy, honestly.
Made the job easy, but you guys got it done. We head to the Nürburgring and then Watkins Glen for our next 2 rounds, with round 5 still TBD. Both your thoughts on Nürburgring and the Glen and where you think this Ferrari will be most competitive.
I mean, I think the Ferrari is going to be very competitive at Nürburgring. The things that the Ferrari excels at is basically like almost every turn at Nürburgring, so it's going to be a really solid showing for the car again.
And I would say the same for Watkins Glen. That bus stop's going to be piece of cake in the Ferrari. It has a great suspension setup, so looking forward to it.
All right, guys, Grid Life RWB victorious at Sebring. We'll see you guys in a couple rounds, or a couple weeks, I should say, for round number 3 at the Nürburgring. We'll see you there.
All right, appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Guys.
All right, Finian, final thoughts on Sebring victorious. Grid Life RWB rebounding after missing out on the opportunity to win at Road America, but this time they get it done and they do it successfully. Your thoughts on Race Sim Canada Endurance Series from Sebring, and moving on to the Nürburgring in a couple weeks.
Yeah, honestly, some great racing from these guys overall. Some great wheel-to-wheel action, also door-to-door action down one straight in particular between two guys. It was really aggressive racing, but also clean at the same time, which is always the best thing you want to see out of cars that can be pretty tough to handle. So it's been some fantastic stuff. Looking forward to seeing how these guys do at the Nürburgring.
Join us in about 25 minutes for the start of round 6 of the 2021 Coca-Cola of Kokomo Indy Elite Series from Detroit, Belle Isle on the IR18 IndyCar. We'll see you there in a little while. Otherwise, we'll see you in a couple weeks for round number 3 of the 2021 Race Sim Canada Endurance Series. Kyle Heyer alongside Vinny DeCuna. We'll see you in Germany.